26, 2025 Planning Board of the Town of Southampton. Do we have a roll call, please?
Chair LaFaro.
Present.
Vice Chair Finity is absent at the moment. Secretary is here. Board Member Mutu.
Present.
Board Member Neely.
Present.
Board Member Fulham is absent. Board Member Glazer.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do we have any minutes, Gloria?
June 12.
Motion for June 12 minutes by George, second by Tom. All in favor? Opposed, abstentions? 5 in favor, 2 absent. So we have a work session. And so we will close the afternoon session and go into the work session. This is 51 LNP LLC. Hi, Carl.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Hello.
Meet you.
Okie dokie.
Can I have your name for the records, please?
Robert Smith, Squires Holden, Weisenbacher, and Smith, 46 Jagger Lane.
Carl Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York.
Lisa?
Yeah, so I'm just pulling up this map real quick. So the applicant currently owns a parcel for which we reviewed a pre-application report to subdivide this parcel into 2 pieces. One of the issues, the report is about 2 years old. One of the issues is they needed a lot area variance. It didn't quite meet the requirements for lot area in the zoning district. Now, we adopted a pre-app report, said go get your variances and start the process. And I guess as part of their process, they have to go to the health department. And at the time, the health department said, we got a problem. It looks like if you go here on the historic planning maps, it was 3 lots, 1, 2, 3. And in the 1980s, there was a lot line modification giving this portion of the parcel to here and this portion of the parcel to this lot, as you can see on this approved subdivision lot line modification map. And now the health department said that there was a letter from like the 1980s that said, you don't need health department approval for this lot inspection. But now they're coming back and saying, well, you actually did need health department approval for this lot line modification. So now the question is, how do we proceed? Because now it needs to be a 3-lot subdivision instead of 2-lot subdivision. So do we want to reissue a pre-app report? The question is how we proceed.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Carl?
Madam Chair, may I
Yes.
interrupt to say Vice Chair Finity has arrived?
In the building.
Somebody's here.
So Bob has been interfacing primarily with the health department, and I'll turn to him in a second. We did obtain that lot area variance, so we are all set with respect to filing for final approval of
For a
the,
2-lot,
for a 2-lot.
right.
When this issue arose.
I'm sorry.
So I think, Bob, if you want to just go into a bit of the history, and then it should also note the owner of the 3rd lot is also represented by Bob, so
Yeah.
he's involved in this application.
Right.
But we got to go through the history and explain what the health department told him.
Okay, in 2004, Miriam Eldar came here and got a lot line modification. So she had 2 lots, they modified the corner, that was all approved, and it was approved here by Kyle Collins in April 13th, 2004, lot line modification. Then they came and we filed a 2-lot minor subdivision. They went and got the area variance so they could have 2 lots.
2004 also?
No, this
No,
is
just
just recently. This was
Within the last 2 years.
20, well, the initial filing was 5/13/23, and the last one was 4/4/2/24. And that was approved by the planning board. Then we went to the health department and got caught in the minutia circus. The days and weeks of going back and forth to get approval for this two-lot minor. Got it all set, and then they kicked it upstairs to a gentleman who said, well, you never approved the other one. I brought the letter from Roy Reynolds, which you have a copy of.
Yes, and I
Yeah,
did
said-
forward to you
Yeah, we
yesterday.
saw
This
that.
is not any of our business. It meets Article 6, we're done. The new champion of the universe wants to say, this was never approved, and now I need the town to give me a letter that says that's approved. So what we're asking you to do is, we have an approval for 2, we had an approval for 1, we're asking you to write us a letter that says there's 3 lots here, boys. It's very simplistic.
So, I spoke with Anthony about this. He had a similar similar situation happen, and what he suggested and what had happened previously is that they came in for final subdivision application showing all 3 lots, right? With the lot line modification that was done and with the proposed subdivision. So the question is, do you want to proceed that way, or do you want to send them back to pre-app and go through that process and when we've already approved one?
Why? Yeah.
Right. So the
I mean,
question is just confirming, submit the final.
We'll submit a final with a three
With the
lot.
3 lots, yeah, that's, I mean, I think you already have a copy of this, but I'll leave it with you.
So just to clarify, you approved this lot line modification. The tax maps are updated with the lot line. It's just the health department maps that weren't.
Was there any change in health department regulations or anything that this gentleman
No change in
is
their regulations,
facing?
change in
Change their
personnel.
leadership.
Change in personnel, exactly, change in
Okay.
personnel. The young man who's in charge of subdivisions now seems to think that he has control of them.
But do you even need to do a 3-lot subdivisions final, or is there a letter that would, from the
Well, they
planning
still
department who would say that this, I mean, this is really an approved subdivision? Is that the simpler way to go?
I think that's the simplest way. I mean, what we need to get is health department approval so that we can build on these 2 lots. And they're, they're holding our feet to the fire.
Well, at the end of the day, they still need final subdivision for the 2 lots, and that's a fairly simple process, so we can include the 3rd lot and get it all done, and the maps can be refiled all 3 lots versus writing a letter and then filing 1 map and then filing a 2nd map.
So do we have to revise our report, our
Our
documents?
pre-app report's 2 years old. I don't see that we really need to revise it. We can put the history of what happened and why in the final resolution,
Okay.
if that's how you wish to proceed.
Yeah, I would prefer to do the full subdivision, just to clear up the record.
Clear up everything.
Yeah.
Can you email that to me?
Okay, great.
Sense.
That's it, thank you.
These 3 lots.
So we'll submit final with a 3-lot.
Once we get through the minutia over in the health
Right,
department.
and the resolution is gonna
Yeah, Bob,
recap all.
Do you need something?
I need a letter from this board that says that this is a 3-lot subdivision is approvable.
So can
And
we
then-
do,
and
can we
then-
do
So,
a,
is there who did you speak to at the health department?
Brad Schleier.
Okay, can you provide me with his contact information, and I'll
Absolutely.
email him and say, we had a work session on this, and I'll send him the link for the work session to say, the planning board advised us to proceed with the 3 lots.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Closing the work session and going into the afternoon session. Teresa, don't leave.
Oh, that's
You're up, you're Hanger Charlie, number 2. This is action deadline. Consider and adopt the staff report.
all right. So here's the revised report
And Wayne, you're here.
and the resolution.
Okay, Wayne, just identify yourself for the record, please.
Wayne Bruin, O'Shea, Washington and Bruin for Hanger Charlie LLC.
Okay, so we had discussed this application at the last meeting. This is the 11-lot subdivision for 10 residential parcels and 1 recreational parcel. We had discussed minor changes to the report, but the biggest question was the trails, as recommended by the Trails Advisory Committee. They had recommended that the residential lots be shifted to the west, in order to allow for creation of a trail linkage between the northerly portion of the parcel to the proposed dog park in the southerly end of the parcel. However, that is difficult because the town code creating the PDD says that lots must maintain a 60-foot buffer from the side yard setbacks. In this particular instance, it would be the side, they'll become rear yards, but technically they're side yards. And by doing what the Trails Advisory Board had recommended, you would effectively limit the size of building envelopes to be very difficult to develop. So the question here is, and that's the only thing that's highlighted on the report needed left to discuss, is what we want to do with the trail. I know that the
rationale you just gave says it all.
right. So I would recommend that a trail be established within the open space along the northerly property line, which is shown on the subdivision, which would connect through the town-owned parcel and then the open space on the adjacent parcel to the east, and then also eventually to what was the pending CBE application for whatever ends up coming in on that, and that would provide eventually a linkage to the Quogue Wildlife Refuge. So that would be my recommendation. So I could change this to provide demonstrate compliance with a trail along the northerly property line in the open space, but I wanted to confirm if you had any additional
And it doesn't go to
thoughts.
the dog park now.
No, it would not go to the dog park. I mean, it's a great idea,
Right.
but
Right.
it's just
And
not
then- and
necessarily
in truth-
physically possible.
Work, right.
I think it's a good solution.
Yeah.
Everybody
that
agrees?
fast.
I mean, I think getting to the Quogue Wildlife Refuge
Be
is
nice.
probably of larger benefit than the dog park.
But it doesn't interfere with the dog park, does it?
No, it would not interfere.
Okay, so you'll put that language in, Teresa, that's great.
And I think that was the only major sticking point, right,
Yeah,
Ryan?
did we get any other advisory reports?
No,
other than
got
that?
nothing.
Okay,
All right, so that's our
Right.
action. That's your action to adopt the report.
okay. Motion to adopt the report by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you. Can I just ask one question, Anthony? Anthony, we are signing Noyak Northview today.
I have the maps downstairs. I did not get them ready for Glorian yet. So
But I just wanted to let the board know, though, although our client, this is the last step, was the acceptance of the deed by the
Yeah.
town board, the 4-lot cluster, but the CPF group has made an offer, and I think my client's gonna sell the 4 lots to the town as well.
Oh.
So we'll see.
It's always good news,
Right.
yes.
Right, okay, good.
Okay, Anthony, King Lane Estates.
So, everybody remembers I got the property up here on Kings Lane. This is the one with the intersection there with North Sea. We actually went through the report last time, and Dave just wanted the opportunity. One of the alternatives that we discussed looking at, as opposed to an open space cluster plan, was a plan with the perimeter buffers. Remember this? We had the
Yes.
discussion. So that's what this subdivision design does. It created buffers around the lots as opposed to clustering them and then putting a strip here that wasn't adjacent to any other open space. There was no trail recommendations.
I think the issue is that it's ag
It's also an
land,
ag,
so it would be nice to be able to use it for farming.
yeah, it gives you both options. Again, this is a pre-application, and Dave just wanted to see if this was, sort of the direction that we recommending.
It's like a cluster with
Can-
an enhanced buffer.
Let
Right,
me
gives
have
everyone
your name
benefit.
for the record, please.
Garfield Martin, Greenberg, Torrid.
And Maggie Vavrika, North Star Engineering.
Emmett,
Maggie Vavrika.
thank you.
This way everyone gets the benefit of
Right.
that.
Yes, it's buffered, it's a green avenue, it's a
Yeah.
green park.
Wildlife
So
If you remember the public hearing, we had this neighbor and several neighbors along here, and while they didn't want to see it subdivided, they wanted to see buffers. It also happens to be a place where there's a lot of local people, so they called our office and I spoke to them, and that was really the overwhelming concerns, is they wanted to see buffers, as big a buffer as they could get.
Typically what we do is we put a split rail fence along that area to delineate so property owners know, otherwise,
Because they mow the back.
Yeah.
yeah. It
What's
helps.
Around.
what's the width of that?
The
The
width
width
of,
of that buffer?
It's on the northwest and south, it's 50 feet, and there's 30 feet on the east side, except for a small portion, one of the properties juts like 8 feet in, so it's like
And
22
then they
feet
have,
there.
there's a common driveway,
Common
which
driveway.
provides additional buffer. And then, what is it, 40 in the back? 50 in the back, yeah.
The driveway out to the road is still a bit of a challenge.
Well, we've engaged R&M Engineering, their traffic consultant, who you've met several times, Wayne Muller and Keen Cody, and we've asked them to design, because it is an issue. I drive home past there. It's almost like you could drive off.
When I leave here to go
Right.
home, I do not see Mecox to Major's Path, so
I'm on that same route.
I'm sitting in traffic, hardly moving generally.
So I had the opportunity to show it to Kean. You saw him last week here, and he had some pretty good ideas about what he could do here to bring people out over onto Kings Lane, and instead of trying to shoot out.
Yeah.
Right. That was clearly the issue.
Before they get to North Sea Mecox, right.
So we have that underway. Anthony has a staff report, so obviously we'll get to that. But we'd like you to adopt the staff report and get us on our way.
So yeah, and last time the big change, if you remember, was CPF. So I noted in the report that it's a CPF priority property, and we left it at just at that statement there.
Right.
But we went through it last time, all the issues, nothing's changed, so I was just going to recommend adoption of the pre-app report.
Any questions from the board? Motion to adopt by Gloria and second by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 6 in favor, 1 absent.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
See you in a bit.
Okay, Anthony, we're on to 2 trees, and you have distributed that to us, yeah?
Just here, I'll come up here.
Good afternoon, here, Paige Murphy, attorney at law, 1 Baylor Lane, Sag Harbor, New York.
Thank you.
Representing Hayground Road Development LLC, who owns this property. And we're at action deadline, and hoping to get an approval today.
Okay, Anthony, it's all yours.
What you have in front of you, everybody, I handed out the staff report, and then there's 2 draft resolutions. One is for a covenant amendment.
Does Kieran have them?
You know, and so we'll start off by saying, obviously, we had the 2 hearings, and we received, obviously, the written submissions. I think everyone understands there was a lot of public comments here that came in for this property. You know, obviously, we're going to do our best to address issues to the maximum extent that we can. You know, let me just, you know, what we're looking at here, just to put this in perspective for this project. First is we're looking to increase, or the applicant's looking to increase the number of horses from the covenanted 89 to the 107 that can be accommodated based on the density requirements of the zoning code. It is worth noting that at the time of the site plan approval in 2011, where the covenant was imposed, the site plan itself does note that the property can accommodate up to 107 horses, and the covenant itself, which was worded interestingly, left it open. It noted in the covenant, in the very specific covenant, that this horse restriction can be amended by the planning board in the event they need additional
But
horses.
that's
So
a +1 vote.
+1 vote.
Okay.
So it's for the increase in the horses. They're adding the new 2 new sand rings that Kieran could show you, and they are, you know, right adjacent to the 2 drainage areas, as Jackie has mentioned to me before, and Dennis, which raised issues. Our engineer has looked at this. Our engineer has signed off on the project. Actually, we have a sign-off memo from the engineer.
Now, Anthony, the additional horses, where are they being stabled?
So we did, within the existing buildings, they're going to have to make some modifications into the interior to accommodate the additional.
Is that part of our action? The
Yes, you'll see, Dennis, I have a condition that says it in there that they're gonna have to give us final floor plans that show
Yes.
within permanent structures. I'll go through it,
Okay.
but I did look into that, Dennis, for
Doesn't
sure.
require any new buildings.
So what's our process now? We have 3 documents.
Well, one's just the report,
Yeah,
and then one's the covenant amendment, because the horse restriction was restricted by a covenant. And then the other one's the resolution for the construction permit for the rest of the entire project.
was there any conversation about putting up that project limiting fencing along the easement?
Yeah,
corridors?
and I have it in
It's
the.
in there,
the
okay.
resolution.
That's a requirement of the SWIP and any kind of development, so.
That's also true.
Town
I
engineer.
always forget about the SWIP.
You have to have a pre-construction meeting with him, so we have an engineer, it's gonna be done correctly.
Good.
The third thing was the restoration of the partially built sand ring. Remember, that was the big thing that sort of created this whole uproar, so to speak. That's actually been largely done. The engineer's been out there. Based on last site inspections, and I'll get to it in the report in the reso, it looks like there was still some stockpiling of some stuff, so I do note it in here. We just want all that stuff resolved, before. It wasn't horrible, and they might be using it to create the new rinks or whatever, but
Yes.
I wanted to make sure
And no
that I-
soil's being removed, but they did have to dig out
Dig
topsoil.
it out,
and
and they're
sand.
gonna spread all that topsoil, yeah.
Yes, and so nothing's moving, but we
Right.
can't, we had to stop work order, so until we
Right.
get approval.
Understand.
And the engineer.
Yep, that's true. The 4 manure storage containers, right now it's just open storage designated from the previous site plan. Their site plan shows 4 storage bins, which is actually a better way to store the manure. If for nothing else than the potential leaching,
Yes.
The smell is what it is, but
We should make sure that we say that the previous approval next to the indoor, where all the manure was.
Was, it's
being
been removed.
I wouldn't want that.
Right.
Oh, good,
future
good, good.
reference. Oh, I have my co-counsel.
and then the farm gate, that gate that they were proposing there. So those were the elements of the project, and then obviously we had a lot of questions and that got
Yep.
raised by the public. And I'm just going through my report here. So I'm on page 2. The secret classification. This is a type 2 action under secret. Ag uses and such are. The public comments, I graded out here, just because I didn't summarize them yet. I will put them in there. There's a stack of them this big. I'm probably just going to make them attachments to this report, so the board is aware. It's easier just to put the.
I think so, because there were 3 attorneys.
There were 3. It's easier just to put the attorney's letters in there and
Yeah.
note it as an appendix, which is what I'll do. We did get referrals from the fire prevention. There was nothing really in here other than that they would do a further review at the time of formal building plan. They did note that the plan submitted did not indicate the location of the farm gate. I'm not really sure. Is that on there, Karen? I thought it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, proposed gate, it's so
Okay.
small. Because the scale is 1 inch to 100 feet.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
It's right there.
But they didn't have any other recommendations or requirements. The town engineer, June 3rd, actually signed off on the project, just his general comments about fees and inspections and as-built surveys, all of which will come after construction. The Ag Advisory Committee, I actually didn't get their written comment, but I reviewed the meeting and I spoke to Dave Wilcox today, and they approved it in May. So I will note that in there. Their referrals are a little bit unique. They have a form that they just check off things and then give it to you. So it's not.
One of their biggest was that there be no ag soils removed from the property.
That's
Yes.
the key for them, So and so restoring that area too was a big thing.
And we also included the soils in the application.
Okay,
And we also just got approval from this week on Tuesday from the Suffolk County Legislature for it to be in an ag district. And so that the next step will be going to the state. So that part of that is having ag soils.
right.
So that was approved this
Yeah, the
Tuesday.
other big issue was vehicular traffic running off the Hayground Road behind the cul-de-sac. Where was that?
Yeah, that's why we have the gate. We're
That's
gonna
the
have the
gates
gate.
going up.
Because right now it's just open. That's why we put the proposed gate.
So how is that gate going to prevent the vehicular traffic?
Well, I think people were just using it as, when I went there, I think they think it's a park. So it would just be for if there's agricultural vehicles,
Because-
instead of having to drive all the way
You're not allowed
around.
to drive over the drainage,
Yes.
believe that's areas.
So they could unload here and ride.
They can, there's a strip where they can.
There's a
avoid
strip
that.
here, and there's also, they can unload over here away from
Yeah, I think,
these five
I
people.
think the neighbors were looking for something more substantial. I mean, I'm
Well,
thinking
they're-
almost maybe a hedge.
No, they don't want hedges
They don't want a hedge.
There's a,
Their easement
Who's that?
actually prohibits hedges.
or any structures.
The hedge is not a structure.
No, it says
But
hedges.
it prohibits hedges.
So we would kind of had one. It only goes up to here. Up to
There's a
here.
private covenant on that
Yeah, which is
parcel.
not this board's jurisdiction.
And each one of these parcels gets like a adjacent area that's like their easement area. But
There's nothing over here.
it doesn't go all the way.
No,
And also, it doesn't prohibit driving. I mean, it prohibits parking and it prohibits structures and it prohibits hedges and things that could block the neighbor's view, but it does not prohibit
Yeah,
driving.
because we don't want to go all the way around and.
what is that in the original easement or what?
The original
Private
easement
party
is an agricultural easement.
Yeah, the original easement is the ag.
Okay, because this one, when we did a site visit here, this area was problematic.
Yeah.
In that the farm vehicles were entering from there and then driving, because it tips, the property tips down, they were driving in the middle and then around to get to the large
It's
field.
kind of like a shortcut.
So they were right in front of those houses, right there.
Right in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not, I'm sorry, but there's nothing that prohibits
It doesn't
that.
prohibit that, and that's they have a private
And it's
easement.
not in
No
conflict?
comments from the
There's,
public.
is it in conflict with the private covenant? That was my big question.
No, it's not.
I can pull out the covenant. I don't know.
Well, you can't have vehicles over the drainage easement, that's correct.
That's right. And no comments from the public.
Yeah, but-
No,
No.
you're not allowed to speak. You are not allowed to speak.
Okay, Karen,
Okay, let's keep the conversation.
keep it
Well, I didn't
here.
know, like, that, that.
And Carl, this is not
Yeah,
your turn.
Vehicles aren't allowed in that area.
Wait,
Oh.
I have the private
We
covenant right
did talk
here.
about driving
That's not
along with some markers,
Because
driving
two people have a
along
problem
outside
with
the
it.
drainage area.
It's-
And that was going to be,
Just read it to us.
I'll read it to you right now.
Are we party to the private covenant?
No,
No,
no. And it says,
that's why I brought it up and
Grantor-
discussed it with Christina.
Grantor shall not erect, construct, place, or install any buildings or structures of any description, including fences, jumps, temporary or permanent trailers, and horse run-in sheds on or within the easement area. Grantor shall not use the easement area for manure disposal or parking. Grantor shall not plant or maintain any hedgerows along the common boundaries that lots 1 through 5 in the map of Two Trees Farm share with the easement area. Notwithstanding the foregoing, nothing herein is intended to otherwise restrict grantor from utilizing the easement area for other horse farm activities, such as grazing and exercising of horses or open space activities. So it prohibits parking, it does not prohibit driving.
But they're not
Is
allowed
that-
to drive over the
drainage.
Over the drainage,
drainage.
Over the
100%.
drainage
Is that area the
Is that
drainage
area?
easement?
That's
Oh,
what
there's
they
a
have.
path, there's a pathway through.
It's on the map here. Let's see.
Two drainage
The
easements.
two drainage easements
They're
are
up
on
there
here.
by the rings that are going in. They're up, it's
They're
up there.
here, and here.
They can drive around it, and that's where Jackie asked for some
Is
markers.
this a drainage easement?
This and that.
So
Those are the two,
I'm
there's nothing
tracing
there.
with my pen then, what happens when the vehicle hits this point?
They're not,
They
They
have to
can't-
go on the little strip to the right.
right.
There's a small strip.
Yeah.
Right, and that's kind of a choke point where the slope comes down a little bit.
That was your point, right? What do you
Yeah.
do once you get up to this?
Or even just as you turn that corner.
But I mean, they have to take tractors, they have to cut the grass. I mean, they cut the grass for the benefit of these private
Right.
individuals who get to enjoy
think
open
what we're
space.
hearing-
It's a tight passageway.
Yeah.
But the farm is using that gate where they want to put a gate now to get their vehicles in. They drive them along the rear end of that lot. We're sort of in the middle of it, actually,
Yeah.
because it tips. Then they turn the bend, right smack in front of two parcels that are residences, you know?
But they can drive
However-
a tractor here. I mean,
Yeah.
this is grass. They have to
We're
cut the
thinking, we're
grass.
talking
do.
about farm vehicles.
They do, they,
Farm
farm
vehicles are allowed.
vehicles,
We're
right,
not,
yeah,
we're not, yeah.
that's all permitted.
But not vehicular, no, not vehicular, there are other access ways.
But right now, the public can go in. I've seen people walking their dogs.
walk
I
their
know this
dogs.
person here. There are people think it's their own open
Yeah.
space
Yeah,
thing,
well, that
so
has to
that's
be gated.
why.
So just tell
be
me,
gated.
since you have, and I believe you drafted the private covenant, right?
No,
From the
no,
homeowners
we did not.
onto
That
the
was
easement? You
for
didn't?
previous owner.
Okay. My question was, does it contradict the use of that particular section of the farm?
Does it contradict?
Right.
It restricts
What
it.
contradict?
It
The
restricts
private
it.
easement.
The private easement,
Private
in any
easement.
material conflict with the town.
Doesn't allow us to put paddocks
No, not
back
at
there.
all. Private easement is more restrictive.
It's more restrictive.
Than the town's.
And it's probably more in conflict with the thing,
But I don't see any conflict with what we're proposing.
what we're proposing, yeah.
And the private easement,
But,
which is
yeah,
also.
You know,
not
we can't put
even
in,
within
we
this-
couldn't put paddocks there. We can only ride horses there, so.
Mm-hmm,
And we've been nice not to have lessons there.
mm-hmm.
And they've had the benefit of open space because we can't put any gates. And we did put a hedge on the outside
Which was at their request.
at their request. so.
Right, because I remember from the site visit that Roman
Yes.
said that they would be parking farm vehicles up there in that upper
In that corner,
portion.
yeah.
This
Right.
portion is not covered by
By
the
the eas-
easement, the
Their
private easement. Has
And
no
that's where
restrictions.
the well is to get the water
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, it's all up in
So
that
they fill up a
end.
water truck.
Yeah.
and-
But I think we're looking at a restriction of vehicles in that area, Anthony. I mean, otherwise, it's just gonna become a shortcut. Farm vehicles, trucks,
But it
you have
is-
other access, you have other ways to get to that property. This can't be a thoroughfare.
It isn't.
It's not.
That's why
It's-
we're putting
that's
up a
not what they're
gate.
using it for.
I think it corresponds to the contrary.
Well-
And we have to respond to it.
Well,
But
but-
they have, the people who are, I'm sorry, the people who are complaining about this have a misunderstanding of the easement. The easement prohibits parking. It does not prohibit vehicular traffic. And it's beyond this board's purview to enforce a private covenant, in any case.
Well, we're not enforcing the private covenant. We're taking steps that, it's part of a site plan.
For two people.
So.
Yeah, they're,
Have, by the
Yeah.
way,
They have
blocked off
our easement.
our access
It would be nice if we could drive
And-
right in here, but they blocked it
No,
off.
and
that-
put a fence.
that
all over
access
there.
is really impractical. We were there.
Yeah,
It is like a private driveway. It never should have been on the map.
Well, we weren't here, but we're not involved in that approval. But yeah, we can drive through there. So,
But I think Roman said that they would
yeah, so. you know, it's-
block that off and not
Yeah,
use
and they're
it.
willing not to use it
Yeah,
as long
they
as
were
they can
willing.
go around in accordance with the other easement, which I think is reasonable.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're looking to do.
Okay.
Right.
But like they said, this gate will
Well,
um,
it does allow
prevent
certain.
people going on.
When we were out,
And we'll put a security camera there, you know, so.
when we were out there, we were trying to figure out a way to, encourage the drivers of the farm vehicles to get as far away from the homes as possible at that choke point. Now, I don't, because
Everything goes on.
fences aren't allowed or whatever, I don't know.
There's other ways, there are other ways.
Well, over
in.
here is where all the activity, the hay, the horses come in. They all come in over here. So that's the majority of the activity.
Right,
So.
right. And my memory from, the public hearings or whatever is the residents of the road are more concerned about special events and parking and traffic related to that. Which I think we just want to, kind of go on the record that that's not something that this board can control.
Yeah, it's code enforcement.
Special events are beyond any restriction or whatever that we could impose. But that was my memory, is that was a real traffic concern.
But I think that Roman also said when we did the site visit that there were not going to be public events. That's what he said. So,
I don't recall that, and we're not limiting that. We're not saying we can, to get this approval that we can't have special
Said no
events.
horse show.
That's a whole process.
Yeah.
That goes through public safety, it goes through, code enforcement. That's a whole different process. That is not part of this.
right.
Be
no,
honest,
but
if we
can-
could, and
can
that's why
make
the
it-
question came up, if we
Yeah.
could, I would want to do that, restrict it in some way, but we can't.
Right. You can't. You've never done it to any other horse farm, and I don't understand why this is.
certainly going to, I'll defer that question to council. Here's what I can say from the history of this property is that there have been a number of resolutions for 2 trees, and in each of those resolutions, the planning board did note in the conditions that special events are subject to, approval from the town board pursuant to section whatever of the town code, and are prohibited in properties under 10 acres in size. But the planning board didn't prohibit the events. They just put on notice the section of the code that governs special
Which you've got
events.
on page 10 of your report.
I mean, they used to have.
Is it in there?
Yeah, page 10 has just, I think the point you're making, what I was looking at when I made the comment that we're not allowed to impose those restrictions.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well,
What I'm
that's-
saying is the
if-
previous, and I put it in my opinion.
And I'm not,
but
I'm not a
I'll defer to-
lawyer,
I'll
but
defer to
I'm
council.
reading the town code here.
Oh, yeah, no, the town code's very clear, yeah.
I mean, this property.
Is it the town board or?
They deferred, it used to be the town board.
Used to be,
And then they sent it over to public safety.
public safety.
Yeah.
And it's very restricted. And also, I was looking up previous special events. In 2009, they were having polo matches, 3 in August. And I remember going in 2002, and there was like 5,000 people there.
Yes.
And the traffic complaints were rolling in.
Yeah, and there
I
was,
was getting the
and they
calls.
dug, yeah, I'm sure you did. I mean, it was so intense, the use.
Yeah.
And
And
the
they
poor
were-
guy who had a house over here, they had the tent right back. He had his house because he has his own
Right.
private golf course. He's since passed away, but
But as
he
far as
put his
vehicles,
house right next to that, so.
getting back to, as far as vehicles, we're looking at a restriction of, there's certain vehicles that needed for maintenance, but to be used as a through traffic, I think we're gonna need condition to preclude that. That was a big issue with all the correspondence.
Farm vehicles?
Well,
for
to
maintenance?
be used as, I mean, you can get farm vehicles for
Because we have
mowing
to
and
mow here.
for mowing and maintenance, but
Yeah.
vehicles using it as a through thoroughfare to the rest of the farm, you have other access ways.
You
It
wanna
really
say-
impacts those neighbors.
I don't know how
Something
you
about,
enforce that, though.
explicitly prohibit any
any
construction
through-
related or
through vehicle-
passenger
We'll word it in a manner that precludes through traffic,
farm
which
vehicles
allows,
only.
which allows farm-related maintenance, mowing, grading, but trucks going to use that area to get to the major field, that would be in the
There
violation.
might have to be water trucks too.
Excuse me?
There might have to be
Water
water
trucks,
trucks.
because
sometimes,
the well is there.
Because of this grass is cut very
I'm
short.
sure those neighbors' decks,
would be under
they'll have their
farm-
cameras and
There are
there'll be a whole-
definitions of farm
Yeah,
vehicles.
farm vehicles
I think
in the maintenance.
vehicle and
of
The
traffic
course,
language
law.
should be used as through traffic.
And not, no passenger vehicles or.
Through traffic. That's the
No-
operative
no
word.
passenger vehicles, only
Because if
farm
there's another way in,
vehicles.
it might be, take a little longer, that's the way they have to use.
Yeah,
Understood.
no
Let me,
passenger
let me,
vehicle.
we'll,
Yeah, we'll work on
we'll
that.
go through it and let me see when we get to the, conditions, how we could reword it. Bridgehampton,
I understand what you're saying. Okay.
Bridgehampton Fire District, did not come back with anything. Landmarks, said there were no, historic impacts. And the Planning Commission, said it was a matter for local determination, but just gave a general comment regarding, incorporating green methodologies, into managing stormwater. That's a pretty typical comment from them. We go through the general special exception, standards.
Go through these, Anthony.
So the first one is about harmony and use of the zoning code. This is an existing horse farm, so nothing they're proposing is uncharacteristic of a horse farm. The plot area is sufficient. You need a minimum of 10 acres for a horse farm. This is over 60 acres, so exceeds the minimum. Will the proposed use will not prevent the orderly and reasonable use of adjacent properties, particularly when they're in their different district. All the properties here are actually in the same zoning district, and the subdivision and open space was laid out as part of the same map. And generally speaking, the proposed, I think, are minor in nature and consistent with the horse farm use. Is the site suitable for this, particularly suitable? Again, it is an existing horse farm with an existing special exception approval. Letter E, the use is not located near a church, school, or place of worship, public assembly. It is not. F talks about the definition, if this is consistent with the definition of horse farm. It is. It meets the definition that we actually have in the code for horse farms and horse riding facilities. Access facilities are adequate. There's no proposed changes to the access facilities at this point, as far as I know. Same thing with the curb cuts. All curb cuts are existing, and there's no proposed changes at this point. Parking requirements. For the use itself, parking requirements are met. What I do note in here, just take a look here, and I put in here, just relook at the parking calculations with the increase in the horses and everything. I looked at it. I think the numbers work. I don't think there was any issues, but have the surveyor confirm, have your engineer
Yeah, we'll also
confirm.
check with that. And there's never a point where there's 107 horses, 107 people riding. That never happens. That would
We
be,
need some numbers in here. Can we put some numbers in?
I could add the parking numbers in there.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I mean, it's at least 65.
Do you have them?
I think there was in one of the approvals.
Yeah, it's in there. I probably don't have it right here,
Has
Jackie.
at least 65 parking, because you have all the barns, the main.
Oh, that's true. You could count for certain parking.
Yes.
K talks about stormwater runoff, sanitary disposal. We know that the town engineer has signed off on this. And then we do note, as the new rings will be located immediately adjacent to drainage easements, provisions for project limiting fencing and erosion control will be made a condition of approval. So that is the L, no outdoor sales lots or rental equipment. That's not applicable. And then M is the specific standards, of which we do have.
The specific to horse farms.
I'll go through the specific standards. The minimum shall be 10 acres in size. Again, we're over 60 acres. There should be a minimum of 30,000 square feet for each horse. On parcels up to 15 acres and over 15 acres, it's a minimum of 20,000. Actually, I'll copy, Jackie, the actual calculation for you. But the number comes from the approved site plan where the calculation was done in 2011 that the property can accommodate 107.
It was also confirmed.
Oh, good, it's on there?
existing-
Good, I could take the
Yes,
numbers from
it
there,
is.
even better. So that's good, so it meets that standard. C, all horses shall be kept within completely fenced areas. I note here, all horses will be kept in an area completely enclosed by fences sufficient to prevent their escape. The fencing is existing, and per the approved site plan, any new fencing shall be noted and detailed specifications provided. I don't know if any new fencing is proposed, but just in case.
No, not at this
As well as the height. And then I also note horses shall be stabled within permanent structures shown on the approved plans and not within temporary structures, tents, or any other non-permanent structures. Does that cover, Dennis, I think, what some of the concerns were about?
The condition again?
It says, horses shall be stabled within permanent structures shown on the approved plans and not within temporary structures, tents, or other non-permanent structures.
Yeah, they had a tent last year, so
Oh, did they?
they
Well,
would
you're
have it.
proposing.
Yes, so there's no tent here.
No.
No, but
And you're gonna
that's-
show that, you're gonna submit a floor plan showing the stables.
Yes.
Yes, and that's also in there, Dennis. D talks about the accumulation of manure, so their new bins meet the setback requirements, and actually the bins are better methodology. E talks about the storage of grain, so we do have a condition in there that says any grain shall be stored in enclosed containers within an enclosed building. That's pretty standard. F talks about the indoor ring being permitted, and they're not proposing an indoor riding ring at this point. G talks about screening, architectural styles, but there's no changes to the buildings at this point. So existing conditions
A
maintained.
lot of them are landlocked. I mean,
Oh, yeah, that's
they're
true.
the main one is beautiful.
And the parking, as a condition of approval, updated parking calculation shall be provided, demonstrating compliance with any additional parking that may be needed. I don't know why I grayed out I, says it talks about what it can be used for. I don't know why I put in discuss there, but what I would say is that the previous site plan conditions will remain in effect. The new ones will be subject to limitations on horse riding facilities.
Anthony, do we, in the parking calculations, and maybe Kieran, you can respond, you have spaces for cars and spaces for the horse trailers? Are they defined, delineated?
They do have parking areas. They don't have specific for the trailers, but that's something you could put in. Usually trailers are dropping off horses or picking them up. I
Right,
don't
but-
really see, but I understand. We'll
Yeah,
put on maybe a trailer space.
an area for the trailers.
Most of the horses come in the summer and then they,
You take
there's
them.
not that many in the winter.
And Jay, to your point that the board's been talking about, Jay, this is actually one of the special exception standards, and it says the holding of horse shows, rodeos, or any other equestrian spectator event shall be prohibited except that on parcels of 10 acres or greater, they're subject to 3, or permitted up to 3, subject to Chapter 283 of the Town Code. So that actually is built into the special exception regs.
Right.
So
That's what I was
sort of
saying.
what
We can't-
leads me to believe that prohibiting them
We can't
outright.
do that.
I just,
Well,
that's just an
violates
opinion of mine. So anyway, those are in place. Says no other commercial enterprise, either as a principal or accessory use, such as a tack shop, shall be permitted. Those limitations are already in place from the previous site plan approval. Planning board may require covenants and other similar documents to assure provisions are adhered to. Again, covenants are in place from the previous site plan, and certainly if this board wanted to impose more, they could. So going through some of the, conditions of approval, the covenant amendment resolution is one of them that would allow up to 107 horses, and I have that as a separate resolution. The trailer housing has been removed, will be made a condition of approval, so there should be no trailers on the site housing employees. Completion of the restoration, I'm going to confirm that with the engineer, that, the property's been restored, and get his final sign off.
Yes.
I said removals of the piles of soil. I understand what you were saying, Karen, before. You can't do anything with them until the planning board approves.
Relocating.
Yeah, they're gonna
Because
be-
nothing's being removed, so
No,
you
you're
really,
right. So-
you don't want
Relocated
removal.
and return to the previous topography.
Reallocated.
Yes,
Previous topography.
I'll change that language.
Something like that.
Installation of construction fencing along the drainage easement areas, as you were talking about, to prevent the
Yes.
new rinks from. And that's actually part of Tom's approved plans, and
Yes,
his
it's
plans
part of
showed,
any-
actually Jackie's plans showed that the construction
And-
fencing is up. Horse stabling within permanent structures, final floor plans to show appropriate number of stables. So they did give me a breakdown, everybody, of the buildings and the stables to accommodate them, but they were sort of preliminary sketches, so I'm just asking for final plans.
Do we have some specifics on the staff housing, the number of people staying in the staff housing? I mean, we saw the staff housing when we were there, the very long building, Casa.
It's like 6 or 8.
That was done.
Yeah, there was a previous planning board action specific to the ag housing, which was issued as special exception approval. It wasn't part of this application, so I didn't really
Can
get
we
it.
not make a reference to it? Just say that the staff, because it's right smack in the middle of the property.
Well,
Yeah, it's right
I might
opposite
put
the
that in there,
stable.
and
or
also
just
we always,
maybe just
A mention.
confirm what it is. I think it's, I don't know, there's 8.
and we also
8
always
to-
put in that all previous conditions have to be
Yes.
from the previous site
Because
plan.
that was built by the previous owner.
Anthony, we lost our video feed. It says no signal.
With the addition
You
of
didn't
that
touch
many
it for-
horses,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
do we need more staff
There we go.
housing?
We do have,
They have staff housing there. How many
Do you have
people
staff?
do you
Yeah, I
do you
remember,
have?
I'm the only one that didn't get to do the site visit.
I believe there are 8, and they have
8 units.
8 units, there's 2 people each, and then they have to have people living off-site. And
Some
probably,
live in the house too, the
and then
main
we have
house.
we have 2 houses for staff housing that are very nice.
That's right.
And maybe in the future, we'll come back with additional housing.
So
But right
may-
now, like other farms, they have to live off-site.
So just confirm the staff housing. And how many buildings and how many people there?
Report, even in the project description.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, that's, yeah.
We'll add that, Jackie. And so then if you look at the first resolution that I have is the separate covenant amendment. So for the project description, all the legal documents that are,
Can I make a request?
you may.
Since the number of horses is already in the special exception use, why does it have to be part of a covenant? Why can't we just have it, because the other horse farms don't have
But I thought that-
covenants for the number of
I
horses.
So-
thought that was listed, the number of horses was listed in the covenants.
So we're eliminating the covenant then, I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we would put it as a condition of the approval, because it could change. I mean, it just, we're at the max now, so it's not gonna change, but other
So
horse
if-
farms
just so
don't
the
have
board-
covenants, because.
To that,
it-
let me finish. To that point, everybody, if you look at the condition number 4, where I say submission of an amended declaration of covenants and restrictions, eliminating the 89 horse limit, I wasn't sure what the legal,
No, because I'm just saying that, like for Campbell Farm, there's a formula, and it's in the special exception uses, and you have to meet that formula, and that becomes a condition. Now you make it more restrictive, because now you require a majority plus 1. And
So my
it seems
question is,
unnecessary, because,
my question is, why did we do a covenant in 2012?
Right.
Was there a covenant?
in 2011, at the time, that's what the facility was being developed for, including the number of stables. So they limited it by a covenant to 89.
They limited
And
by a
then saying you
covenant.
would have to go back to planning.
because,
So
But I
the
think-
fact that there is a covenant for 89 requires that we amend that covenant to say 107.
107, I'm not suggesting that they need to
Or
file a
eliminate
new covenant, though, necessarily limiting it to 107.
Right.
You're
That's
saying.
what
I'm just saying we're
delete it.
eliminating the covenant, restricting it to 89, allowing it to go up to 107.
Because-
for disapproval.
Because the code
Yeah, sorry, go
it
ahead.
has a.
identifies it. We have to give the reason.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, at the time, they had room for up to 107.
But they didn't
So it
use
was,
it.
it was restricting what they could have more of. See, because, and that all connects with parking and whatever, because they have, they have more stables than 89.
So the 89 was related
kind
to
of
the
make
number
it-
of facility, or the amount of,
Facility.
the
The
size of the
facility had
facility.
more, and you had someone who was having these massive polo
Mhm.
events and people coming in. So that's why I think it was put into the covenant,
Right.
whereas otherwise it's a regular thing, just like parking spaces are
Yes.
a formula, and that doesn't change, and not have to go through the, what happens if, that it's something that, why can't we just have an amendment to eliminate it from the covenants
So,
and go with the current provisions of
Calculating
the
it
code,
based.
the code.
Because
it
conceivably,
doesn't
you might
change.
acquire additional land and then be entitled to more horses based on
Yeah,
a
because that's what
formula.
we did in Campbell. We had those 5 acres. That's not gonna happen, these horses, because it's all farm, it was
The horses
Nosky's
don't
first
like to
street,
go out of the Campbell farm, Karen.
but- Yes.
They like to stay in the air-conditioned ring. Remember when we had the
Oh, yeah, I know. That was with the elevators. Yeah.
so then just,
I wanna be a
this,
horse there.
this resolution then is the planning board is eliminating the covenant,
Yes.
limiting it to 89.
And then following the code,
And following the.
You have to
Take
give
the
a
code.
reason why we're eliminating it,
that we're gonna
please.
follow
Yeah.
the code,
The
or,
language.
yeah, is the code that cites the language?
What would it be following? Special exception?
Special exception.
Special exception, and I have it in the report, so I'll just copy and paste from
Yeah,
that
the
section.
town
of the code.
code regulations.
Yeah.
Because we can't go any bigger. I mean.
Yeah.
And this way, we don't have to, it makes it
Come back
easier.
every time, yeah.
Yep.
So then the way the resolution would read, the planning board hereby approves eliminating the 89, and allowing pursuant to the special exception regulations, and I'll put that.
Do we need a supermajority to eliminate a covenant?
Mhm.
No.
says that.
Okay.
It does say it.
It does.
Then you do.
Yeah, that's why, because it's just.
So
The
we'll
other
need a
stuff is more
supermajority
important.
for the covenant
Yeah.
elimination.
Yes.
So can we do that first?
Yeah, but let me go through the conditions then, since
Okay.
they changed a little bit. I'm going to say compliance with all conditions of approval of the agricultural construction permit dated June 26, 2025, assuming it's done today, including any further covenants and restrictions that may be imposed. Submission of final floor plans, and supporting information showing the requisite number of horse stables. Horses shall be stable within permanent structures shown on the approved plans and not within temporary structures, tents, or other non-permanent structures. And I think that would be okay, because I think,
But you have to change it now, be resolved, because we're not amending the covenant.
no,
We're
as I said, the
eliminating
planning board hereby eliminates the restrictive
it.
covenant.
Hereby eliminates. Is that a number?
No, we're not locking in the number.
There's no number on the covenant, right?
No.
Right, because it has to comply with
Special
special
No,
exception.
yeah, that's right, special exception.
Exception code in the Southampton Town Code.
They might amend the code conceivably.
Right, they might make it more restrictive, whatever. This way we don't have to keep, because you know how covenants are. They're for they're, you know. But you can see why they did that, because you had someone that was,
Yeah.
you know, constantly, you know, you'd have these massive.
So what language are we including in that, Anthony?
First of all, the first three conditions that you see there are the ones that stay. The other ones leave because we're not filing a new covenant now. Although
You have to file a covenant that says you revoke the other covenant. So, and that would be subject to approval of it.
So, okay.
So, right.
So I'll keep my conditions as they are then, Jackie.
Yes, but there will be a
You're gonna have to file some
supermajority.
legal document.
So, may I ask, we do a new amended covenant that has everything that the old covenant had in it, except it says we're amending this to eliminate paragraph 17, 18.
No, not the, no,
No,
you
just
just reference that
reference that.
portion that
Yes.
you are eliminating.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So we don't have to like
Yes.
state all.
No, no,
Okay.
no, that's, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we have to do a covenant to eliminate the covenant? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, well, you're eliminating a portion of that covenant.
Yeah.
So you have to reference the covenant, because otherwise the title is not going to show that.
Right.
It's an amendment of.
Well, our declaration,
It's a covenant,
That what your
covenant's
declaration stays the
amendment.
same. Yes,
It
it's
is.
an amendment,
Yeah.
because
our
we're,
declaration actually directs you to record the covenant. We're not filing.
oh,
the
yes,
covenant.
No,
yeah,
yeah.
we record it, yes, yes.
Yes. But we have, the
Yes.
language has to be
It has to
reviewed
be
by the town.
approved by
attorney.
Christine
Town
or
attorney,
Mark, whoever's.
So how do we handle this?
Just remains the same.
I think the conditions are okay then, as written then, because they have to submit some legal document
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
undo the amendment. So we're gonna keep the
If-
mortgage
if-
consent, the
If it were in the
approval.
document and we're now changing it, you gotta do a new one.
Yes, and you have to have a supermajority vote too.
Yes.
Okay.
Which we were
So do
discussing
you want us
actually
to vote
long
on that?
before you showed up today.
Motion.
Okay, motion by Dennis to amend the existing covenant for Two Trees Farms
To eliminate the
to
89
eliminate the
horse
89
limitation.
horses restriction. Motion by Dennis.
Second.
Second by George. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Opposed?
you.
Abstention, so we're 6 in favor, that's a majority, supermajority, and 1 absent. Thank you, okay, so that's done.
That's done.
Anthony, you'll get us these documents.
I'll send them first thing tomorrow, revised for you.
And we'll work
So now we're
closely
going
with.
to,
The
So I got the second
agricultural
resolution.
construction permit?
yeah.
Okay.
Once this is all done, the stop work orders can be lifted because everything has been fixed, but this is holding this up.
Yeah, no, we have to meet with the engineer and,
Get the fencing in, and yeah, but pretty
yeah,
much
the fa-
everything else is
That's a
signed off.
meeting, because they're separate permits, like the ring is a separate.
Yeah,
permit.
I'm just,
Yes.
I want to make sure that the stop work orders have been addressed before.
Oh, they have to be, we can't get a permit without,
Okay.
yeah, no, that's what happened, it had a permit, then there was, drainage, then when they stopped, so.
Okay, Anthony, go over this guy.
Yep. Well, we went over all the whereases in the discussion. If you just go to the resolves, the first one is resolve to adopt the staff report. It says for Campbell Ranch. It's not Campbell Ranch. Two Trees. So it's resolved to adopt the staff report for the agricultural construction permit of Two Trees Farm.
Okay, that's okay.
And then further resolve, the planning board hereby approves the application of Two Trees Farm for a modification to the approved construction permit special exception approval for the site to include 2 new sand rings, restoration of the sand ring that was partially constructed. Increase the permissible number of horses to 107 in accordance with the horse density provisions of the town code. 4 manure storage containers and a farm gate. I grade that out, as you know, because I always put in the plans. I list all the plans after I do the resolution to make sure I get the right ones. Changes to the site plan. So the final site plan to note which buildings will contain the 107 horses. As I said, there's some new space in the existing buildings. I put this in gray, relocation of the new manure bins. They meet all the setbacks. I didn't know if there was, one seemed fairly close to residential property, but.
It's 50 feet.
And that's the minimum required.
That's the minimum required, yeah. So if you wanna, there's really,
It meets the setback.
it meets the setback, and the guy has a tennis court on the other side, so,
And like I said, I noted I wasn't particularly
yeah, it's.
fussy about it. Show the construction fencing along the drainage easements. I know that your SWIP shows it, but on the planning board's approved site plan, I want to show them on there.
Do we put in here the delineation of the parking for trailers, horse trailers
We will
and
now.
cars?
Okay, just to get back to the construction fencing, that's temporary, and we do have detailed
Yeah.
engineering plans. So,
Well, I
Yeah,
don't
we
think,
will.
I don't know
Putting it
that
on
it's
the-
so temporary because these are so close, the drainage easements are so close to these new rings. It's like the width of these two tables.
Right.
That unless that fencing stays, they're gonna be trampled and then he's gonna be,
okay, I
You know,
I understand what.
it
I was-
benefits him.
I was thinking of the one next to the indoor.
Yeah,
That's
no,
kind of,
it benefits him this, in the field.
okay, now I understand,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So E, Anthony, is delineation
Of the horse trailers.
of parking
For the horse trailer.
area.
Yeah.
Horse trailers.
Oh, we have to remove the private easement.
Yeah, I put that in there for this board because I knew there was going to be a discussion on it, and so I'm not sure.
Address, that concerns the area that we discussed, right? I think
Yeah.
that has to
Yeah.
be conditioned.
No passenger, only farm vehicles,
Right.
and no,
Well, no through, the portion of the ag reserve directly south of and reference that the lots shall not be used for through traffic to access the farm.
Shall, or shall only be used for.
Well, we don't want them to use this,
Farm.
in other words, the big hay truck comes,
it's not gonna
we
be
know
that
it's
way.
through traffic,
There's no, all the horses are over here.
right?
There's no way that they're gonna, I would say limited to farm vehicles.
But, I mean, then we can have
Farm ma-
language
farm
that
maintenance
allows
vehicles?
us normal
Farm maintenance
farm maintenance
vehicles.
vehicles.
And no passenger,
Yeah,
non-farm or
Through
passenger
traffic is
vehicles.
self-explanatory. If you see
maintenance.
cars using that as
We'll find a
vehicles.
definition for farm vehicles in.
farm
Yeah, how about
maintenance
just farm
vehicles.
vehicles, yeah.
I will say that there shall be no through
Broaden.
traffic through this portion of the ag reserve.
Other than
Other
for,
and
vehicles
vehicle
necessary
access
for farm maintenance.
shall be limited for the maintenance
Right.
operations
Right.
of the farming.
Because
Yeah.
some of these paddocks, they have to fill up a water truck, and maybe they go out this way, or maybe they have to go over here if there's dry spots. They can't have
I
dead
think,
grass.
it's not gonna take a whole lot.
Right.
To be cooperative to the people who are living there,
Yes.
to be considerate about what they're looking out at.
I
And you have a
understand.
big enough area to try to avoid being right in their faces,
I mean,
And
the aerial makes
and
very
I-
apparent.
And I
Yes.
just
What we're doing.
think, yeah, there's space,
Like-
except for that tiny little passageway through.
Can I just, so even say a mower can't go?
No, mower-
No, that's a
vehicles-
maintenance,
They can go from.
Yes.
that's a
Vehicles
Any
needs
farm,
to the
any
maintenance.
farm, any
The
farm
mower has to mow that area down. Because I use a hay truck as an example, it can be, any type of delivery truck or something. Use the main,
Right, yeah, because all the hay and stuff goes over here, but yeah, they do have to have, that's what they have water. They have to sometimes to water here, and they're maintaining this
Is
for the
that their
benefit of
only
these
source
people.
of water, Karen?
No, they have water. over
They
here.
have
They have
town water?
town water.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll add that one about delineation, Jackie, about
Yeah,
the
delineation parking area for horse trailers.
changes to the building plans prior to signature. Again, the final floor plan showing all the
Yes.
stables, general conditions of approval. So We'll add again that language regarding the no through traffic and limiting the, vehicles to farm vehicles for maintenance and operations. Get some language.
No, you want to have reallocation of ag soils.
Yeah.
Reallocating of ag soils.
Yep.
Maybe redistributing. Reallocating sounds like you're giving it to somebody else.
Yes.
Redistributing.
Redistributing?
Yeah,
We're not
redistributing.
selling
You're
it.
not selling
Not
it,
selling
right.
it.
Bag
For
it,
the
the
people.
manure.
Redistributing.
Redistributing.
It is. My house, I grew up on Lumber Lane. They could grow everything.
Anything,
Yeah,
well,
you're on Lumber Lane.
I'm on Lumber Lane.
Everything
right.
grows
Everything
double the size.
grows.
Oh, that's where C is gonna go, Jackie, where I say removal of piles
Yeah,
of soil.
so it's redistributing ag soils.
B was the manure shall be disposed on an as-need basis. That seems to be the typical condition. No trailers for employee housing to be stored on site. No temporary structures are permitted without planning board approval unless in conjunction with the town-approved special events permit. Again, we get a lot of these tents and everything to just pop up, so we want to make sure we cover that. Installation of construction fencing and project limited fencing along the drainage easements prior to construction of the new rings to ensure drainage easements remain undisturbed.
I think we're saying we want to keep them.
Keep them.
Keep
And
them.
you know what? They'll probably put a fence around that
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to ride horses in there. And they don't want the horses going into that drainage tank.
I'll change that then.
They could break their legs, and that would not be good.
No, that would not be.
So that's why if you show it on the plan as something to remain, then it will kind of cover.
Yeah,
up
okay,
this
so
stuff.
maybe, because, you don't want them. You know, sometimes they take off.
All horses shall be kept within an area completely enclosed by a fence sufficient in height to strength to prevent their escape. Horse stabling within permanent structures only. No accumulation of manure or any other materials or substance which causes noxious or offensive odors. Any changes into the manure storage location shall be subject to review and approval by the planning board. There should be no hourly leasing of horses to the general public. K, this is the that horse show provision. It just notes that that's what they're permitted to do under the
That's
code.
right out of the code, yes.
Yeah.
Is that chapter 283?
Yes.
Yep.
330-162.
Yes.
L.
That's standard.
Oh, that's a standard condition of approval. No other commercial enterprises such as a tack shop. M, no dusk to dawn lighting. N, all proposed lighting shall be shielded downward. O, no public address system shall be used on the exterior of the buildings on the site associated with the horse farm. I think Kieran had a concern about that.
If there was a horse show associated with horse farm activities.
Couldn't that be incorporated into the special events permit?
That's right, yeah, that's what I'm saying, associated with the horse farm.
But otherwise, we don't want any.
Right, there's no sound, but
Right.
I'm just saying if there was a horse show, yeah.
But then you include it in that permit
Right,
request.
that would be,
Oh, it's in there twice, by the way.
no public, okay.
There seem to be a number of people that testified that are actually tenants, if you will, or subcontractors, I'm not sure, that run the little horse riding businesses or whatever.
They spoke at the public hearing.
Right, that's what I'm saying, and
They-
I guess my question is, they don't have
No, there's not.
signage up or any
No.
thing
I
like
mean, they'll
that
say
that-
the name of their barn on the
Right.
barn.
But they have to abide by these conditions.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just,
they don't have
right,
any.
trying to
when
make
they-
sure
they
they're not
sub-
considered another
sublessees
commercial
on that,
enterprise, they're within the,
Yeah.
Yeah, they have, everybody owns their own horse, and they have, several trainers have a barn with, their horses and their riders.
but they would not be considered other commercial enterprises.
No.
So they are renting from the owners, we
Yes,
believe,
they're leasing it and they're running,
their own business.
yes, but that's a horse business. Just- Okay, and they yell at them, they don't use speakers, and some people have.
Earbuds.
Yeah.
Q is the grain storage provision. Again, that's standard language. R, also compliance with any ADA requirements as may be applicable. Also standard language. For items to be submitted prior to signature, lend the notarized affidavit indicating compliance with the site plan approval. And then 6 sets of plans for signature.
Do we have to put any notice in here to protect the view shed that we created when we did this? Remember this big view shed?
I believe it's already,
It's in the subdivision
the
covenants
open space
already.
area is already
Mhm.
there. They don't, I mean, they can't put any permanent structures in this open area.
No.
They could put up some jumps maybe if they wanted to, but no permanent, no.
Do you have that language?
Yes.
I also need your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nika Strunk. I'm sorry for being late.
That's all right, the traffic is impossible.
You know, that's the open space.
Where's this
Plus we need it for the number of horses.
I know we worked really hard to get that view shed, remember? Right up there?
What condition do we
granted.
impose in the original approval?
She's looking for it.
Looking. Okay, this was in the subdivision covenants, the one that we have to modify or eliminate the horse maximum provision from. It says the planting of privet or any other screening material that obstructs or otherwise interferes with the view shed from Scuttle Hole Road toward the south, east, and west shall be prohibited along the northwesterly portion of the subdivision property fronting on Scuttle Hole Road and Hayground Road and the northerly side of Two Trees Lane. Plank and post horse farm fencing and planting and maintenance of street trees required to satisfy a condition of subdivision approval shall not constitute a violation of this declaration.
Also, I have the grant of conservation open space easement dated the 20th of April 2013, and it's on page 5, and it's 2D. No additional buildings or structures shall be constructed, erected, maintained, or moved onto the open area of Lot 18, except buildings or structures that are accessory to the use of the open space of Lot 18 as part of a horse farm operated on Lot 18 or other agricultural uses by the town of Southampton or designating, including, for example, and not as a limitation, perimeter and paddock fencing, jumps, horse run and sheds, and such temporary buildings and structures as may be authorized pursuant to a special event permit issued by the town.
Right.
So it's only if you're having a special event. So, because this is directly with all the polo stuff that went on, if you remember.
Yeah.
So they have that there's nothing in there unless it's for a special event, and that would just be temporary.
Yeah, temporary.
So that's open, so that's gonna remain.
The number
Yeah,
of times.
so they maintain that, and that benefits.
So do you think we should reference it at all or not?
No, because we all of our approvals do, and I'll make sure it's in here, reference the prior approvals and conditions and previous. And actually, all the legal documents previously are listed in the reso. So.
Okay.
And they're not gonna put anything.
So we took 107 out of the covenant, but it's in here. Is that any inconsistency with that, or it's appropriate to keep that number here?
Yeah, no, the 107 has to be in the approval.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're going from 89 to
Just
107.
consistent with the town code or whatever?
Consistent with the town.
No, because, you have to have the stalls, right? So then,
You have to have the finding.
yeah, the fine, yes.
That's all I have.
Is that all? Is that all there is? That's all.
I appreciate all the time and that's.
I'm going to recommend that you do the second reso now.
So we need a separate resolution on this or the whole thing?
No, we did the covenant.
We did,
I
we
know
did the
that.
covenant, now the
Now we're
resolution.
doing the resolution. Are there
Now
any
this is
other,
the
any other questions from the board before we?
Special exception.
Right. None? Okay, motion to approve by Gloria, second by David, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
Thank you.
Claire, hi.
Sorry I was late. I do have to take area T out of order because our consultant has.
Okay, so which one, Claire?
I don't know what the number is, area T.
11.
11.
Number 11, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we'd be on,
To see you again.
is it Peter? You let Vin Corrado in, Peter?
Hello again. Did you leave and come back? Or did you stay? No, you don't want to get in traffic.
True. We can't get back.
You can't get back.
Which one are we doing? Skip.
That's the
Okay.
report
Number
from,
7
our
out.
consultant.
We're taking it out of order.
I'm gonna staple on the right side,
Yeah, we staple them on the other side.
It's old number 11.
This is the machine, this is the machine, just cut
Can you
it on
let,
the side.
is Vin Prado available?
Right, right.
The staple on this side.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's getting it.
Testing us.
I emailed him yesterday, so.
Staple.
People.
So we just got this, Claire, right? You'll go over
I
it?
emailed it to you when it
Did you?
came in the initial
You
time.
gave us, you emailed it or you gave it to us last time?
Last time.
Yes,
So this
That's
is my third time.
and it was in
Okay.
the packet.
Right.
Yep.
So,
That's why it was
4
emailed, because it was in the packet.
So, just to, I'm hoping Vin is here because he's much more intelligent than I am in interpreting this.
Could
But he
be-
did, I think he did a thorough review, of it. Are you seeing anybody for the project?
I'm here.
I heard someone.
Hello,
It's
I'm
Peter,
here.
right? Is it Peter?
No, it's not Peter today.
It's
Kevin? Kevin?
Is it Kevin? Kevin?
There's
Oh,
someone.
there he is.
There
This is Vin Corrado. Hi.
Oh, great. Thanks, Brendan.
Hi.
So give us your name for the record, please, Dick.
Vincent Corrado, Corrado. I'm with McLean Associates.
You remember the project, right? This is before the zoning board of appeals. It's the issue of being above the 15,000 square feet for the entire sites.
Yes.
And you are lead agency on this. And then there was initial report from the applicants provided. You had some questions, so you hired Vin to review that report, and these are the comments. So I guess to have Vin explain his comments?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Okay, so everybody has my memo from
Yes.
9 June of 25.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so R&M prepared a traffic impact study, and we reviewed it under contract to the town of Brookhaven, town of Southampton, I'm sorry. And I provided my comments, and usually I just go through the comments and we could discuss them as we go along, or we can do questions afterward, or we can do both. So the first one is really just a matter of housekeeping. The project is on Suffolk County Highway, so Suffolk County Department of Public Works has jurisdiction over the access and any improvements in there right away, and also any possible restrictions to access, like turning movements into or out of the site. DPW is going to have to review and weigh in on that. The second comment is with respect to the number of trips. R&M's report used the Institute of Transportation Engineers report, standard operating procedure for transportation engineering, to determine the number of vehicles that might be expected to come in and out of the site. It's, like I said, it's standard, it's SOP, and based on what they came up with, it's on the order of between 45 and 77 total trips during the peak hour. That's total in and out during the various peak hours, AM, PM, and Saturday afternoon. I should say that the board, I guess your board, asked that they take a look at another, rather than just a light industrial use, but also a specialty trade contractor use. I guess there's some discussion that might be more in keeping with the way the site, the warehouse portion of the site gets used. So they did that trip generation as well, which uses which results in a slightly higher number of trips, and that's what those numbers that I just referred to is based on. So those are the higher numbers, and they utilized those higher numbers in their subsequent analysis. But one thing they rather than doing traffic counts out on Montauk Highway, they utilized agency counts from a count location that's east of the 24, the New York State Route 24 intersection, and they modified those counts to reflect the traffic. It's a reasonable approach, but I do note that the traffic east of that major intersection is significantly higher on Montauk Highway than it is in front of the site. So their analysis results in a pretty conservative scenario with respect to the way the potential driveway is going to operate out there. Now, that is usually something that you want to see a conservative analysis, but I know there was some concern about the percent increase in traffic on that frontage road. So if you compare it to a higher number, obviously, if you compare a number to a higher number, the percent increase goes down. So if we had actual counts in front of the site, you might see, in comparison to the frontage traffic, that the percent increase in traffic went up. Regardless of that, their capacity analysis did show that the site driveway can operate even, reasonably, even given those higher traffic numbers on the frontage. They did show that during the worst peak hour, which is the PM peak hour, there might be some delay for vehicles trying to make a left turn out of the site onto Montauk Highway, which is kind of understandable. But they do have a significant amount of throat on site that those vehicles could store waiting to turn onto Montauk Highway. My only concern would be that a vehicle might, a driver might be more aggressive and take a shorter gap if he's subject to delay. And that kind of leads to my next comment, which is, in order to make sure that there's not going to be any problem in that regard, I ask that they take a look at do a safety analysis there. Take a look at the crash records. There were no crash records. There was no safety analysis done in R&M's report, just to make sure that that type of crash experience isn't already occurring out there on that part of Montauk Highway. So to see that'll kind of be reflective of whether this is a real conservative analysis or not. So I don't know if my memo went to the applicant's engineer and they've done that analysis, but that's something that I would recommend. Commonly traffic studies include a safety analysis.
Right.
Right. So my next comment was with respect to parking. The site plan shows that there's enough parking to satisfy the code, and they also did an analysis. We did an analysis of what the Institute of Transportation Engineers would estimate would be required for the peak times to meet the demand on each site with these three land uses on it, and the parking proposed is sufficient to meet that. So, in fact, you might consider a slight, maybe land banking some of the parking early on, and the institute, asking them to put it in if it's needed later on to preserve some more open or green space. Because there's a warehouse and it is technically being called a warehouse, even though we looked at it as a specialty trade contractor. I'm going to expect some heavy vehicles there, so we ask that they demonstrate on the site plan that whatever their design vehicle, the largest vehicle that would be visiting the site, would be can adequately maneuver on the site amongst the buildings into the areas where the industrial type traffic will be circulating. So they could provide that too. And this the last few are kind of boilerplate along the site frontage. Suffolk County obviously has to weigh in on that. It's there right away, but Suffolk County has been fairly consistent in requesting sidewalk on new development along their highways. And then bike racks, especially for the uses that might see some bike visits, like the medical office building. Bike racks in close proximity to the entrance to the buildings. And there's just these last one is just some site plan issues. There seems to be a little anomaly in their key map, which is not a big deal, but it should be corrected. And then I always like to see features on both sides of the highway, the frontage highway, so that we can see the way the access might relate to features across the road. Make sure there's no problems with turns and interference conflicts with turns entering and leaving sites on the other side of the highway. Well, that's kind of it. It's a relatively low number of new trips. Their analysis does indicate that it can be accommodated on the frontage road, and with the exception of the safety analysis to make sure that the driveway can operate safely, I think that that's all they really need to do to satisfy that, make certain that the site can operate as intended.
Couple of comments, if I could. Vinnie, thank you for your analysis. Couple of comments. I agree with number 5 about doing an accident crash analysis. That certainly makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad you recommend that. Jumping back over to number 2, just to reconfirm, when you take commuter peak period, that's an hour. That is per hour, correct?
Yes, that's per hour. That's correct. That's an hourly. Those are hourly volumes.
Okay. And I think we discussed, I can't remember if there's a center turn lane on this section of Montauk Highway.
There is not.
I don't think so, right?
There is not. That's right.
Right, so I think there was some discussion of talking to the county about whether that was necessary, but that would be.
Yeah, it would be. I'm not sure what the available right of way is. And again, like you said, Tom, the county, and we said that the county has jurisdiction if they think the turn lane is needed. Their capacity analysis shows that, it can operate without undue delay, but, a left turn lane is always a nice thing to have if the right of way exists. If it doesn't exist, maybe the county could ask for a dedication along there for a future improvement. At least then it could go in without any kind of condemnation should the county ever come through and want to put it in themselves. But again, that's a Suffolk County DPW call.
And I think the discussions we had previously that I don't think you were in on were the issue of left turns in and left turns out. And I think the point about people getting a little frustrated and maybe jumping out there is, again, I think a good point that you're making.
Yeah, that's why, and typically, street, I would say that you should prohibit the left turns out and let the site take access to the side street, for good access management. But it doesn't. So what you'll wind up with is people making the right turn out and making a U-turn somewhere where it's possible, or where it's or making a left further down and circling around then through some of the side streets to get back up onto Montauk Highway. So if it were an obvious spot where we could prohibit the left turns out in particular, I would have recommended it. But in this case, I don't. I think this is the best of the what you can do.
Right. And the last point, and I think we discussed it with Dave and his traffic engineer when they were here, the classifications, warehouse, whatever, light industrial, commercial, that's a little bit of an academic exercise because they're not sure who they're going to rent to, right?
Right.
So, I know they took a crack at it, looked at it a different way, and you're doing the same thing, but, we're not going to really know until they rent the facility.
Right, but it is a light industrial use, so it's not, you're not going to have 63-foot tractor trailers in and out of there regardless. I wouldn't think, because it's a light industrial. There are light industrial restrictions, and I like that specialty trade contract because that's like a cabinet maker or that. And that's the type of thing you see go into these light industrial developments. Although a lot of them allow breweries now.
and some of those uses are going to be somewhat smaller vehicles.
Yeah, they're smaller vehicles, pickups, and
van, the cargo van type stuff, right?
Yep. And that's why we asked them for a design vehicle and show us that their design vehicle can circulate adequately on the site. So you cover all your bases.
Okay.
So you mentioned the identifying properties across the road. If there's any conflict in terms of driving out, did you look at that, Vinnie? Can we
zoom in?
It's hard.
I like it on the site plan. I like them to show the driveway, at least the access points across the street, so you can orient yourself to where their driveway is in relation to the uses on the opposite side. So you don't wind up with things like, the left turns waiting for one another to go into the opposite side. And it's just a pet peeve of mine with respect to site plan. I tend to repeat the comment over and over. In this case, I had an engineer, and
It's hard to
you know,
tell
and
what's
do-
across the street, is it?
Right.
It is a common driveway for a
There's
subdivision.
like 4 residential houses there.
Four
or something.
residential houses.
Right.
Yeah, so do you,
So
that's actually where you have the curb cut is lines up pretty nicely with that. But maybe
Right.
showing that might be good.
That's what he's
Yes,
saying.
that's what
You
he's
actually
saying.
Yeah,
show
that's
it.
that's
Sure.
exactly my point.
Expand
Is
the
to
service
show
on the
it,
other side
right?
of the road as well.
And then a demonstration for the turning of large vehicles. It's pretty tricky. I mean, the lot is almost totally built out, right, with 3
Right, well,
buildings.
they need to show us how their the vehicle, the largest vehicle that they anticipate having to accommodate on their site, they need to show us with turning templates. It's a tool, it's a design tool that it can in fact circulate on the site, you know, and get in and out of the site. And you know what, that also leads to, you know, emergency service vehicle too, right? Emergency service guys, they get where they have to go, but you know, it's always nice to see a turn template that shows that, you know, a first responder vehicle can circulate on the site adequately too.
Good point.
And R&M does it. They've done it. They do it all the time. They know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so we have some things to do, right? Safety analysis, demonstration, turning lanes.
If I could.
Yes, David.
We've got a response from R&M, and I think
To this?
to this, yeah.
Yeah.
What I think we need to remember is where we are in the process, right? You're considering seeker right now. You were poised to issue a neg deck. Some questions came up about traffic. You had some questions. You hired LKMA. I don't think there's any dispute from our traffic engineer about the comments. I think LKMA says the same thing that R&M said. We did a conservative analysis at the most intense use with the most intense traffic, so that we were looking at the worst case scenario. So with respect to the traffic issues, I think we agree and answered those, except for the safety analysis, which a FOIL was sent in, we haven't gotten it back yet. But the other site plan comments, I think those are a little soon, right? I mean, we'll come back during the site plan process, and we'll certainly take these comments into account when we put our site plan together, but we need the seeker done, we need to go to the zoning board, and then come back for site plan. So I just ask that, you know, if you can put us on for another date when we get the safety analysis, and I'll be able to get that to you. But I think that's really the only thing that stops you today from making a secret determination. Once we get that safety analysis done, I think you can make that determination. We can go to the zoning board, and then the site plan issues we will deal with in the site plan application that you eventually get. We'll have all that information. But I don't think that's necessary today to do the secret determination.
The one thing I would say about, you said you're filing for FOIL data, or foiling for crash data. I guess that would be for the town police?
I think
Because
Keith said, I think,
or you can go to the state, which I think is generally the standard procedure for this kind of study, right, Vinny? Would be the
Yeah,
state data.
that's what
the
he
state
looked
has
for.
the state has a relatively new system now, and it's
Okay.
much faster than it used to be.
Yeah.
So you should get it relatively quickly.
Okay.
Keane's response was accident data has been foiled from New York State Department of Transportation for the latest 3 years of accident data along the 290-foot site frontage along Montauk Highway.
Great.
But when they get it, they'll analyze
Just
it.
wanted to confirm it was
Well,
the state.
let me just make a comment on that about the 290 foot. The idea of the crash analysis is to make certain that we're not seeing left turn or right angle crashes along that stretch of Montauk Highway due to people forcing themselves into the stream of traffic.
Right.
So if you do it across the 290 feet, I don't know what's going on along those 290 feet. I'm pretty sure there's not a ton of traffic going in and out of there. So you got to take a look at it, you know, the stretch along there to see that leaving Montauk Highway that they're not, there's not a bad crash experience in that regard. You know what I mean? It's
you need
easy
to
to do
find-
it along.
A little bit more than 290.
More than
You
two.
need
Stretch it out, yeah. Do it.
Make sure you're
yeah.
getting the commercial sites or whatever it
Yeah,
might be. the
right,
rest.
exactly. See if there's a right angle or left turn crash problem because people are frustrated and they're forcing themselves into the stream of traffic. Because we don't have real-time traffic counts, they used interpreted traffic counts from east of there. You know, if we had traffic counts actually performed at that location, the numbers would likely have been lower. The capacity analysis would likely show less delay, but since they did it this way, let's make sure. That's my point.
The property immediately next door is related and it's developed the same way, so we'll just include that. I think that's probably representative of what's happening along there. So the one immediately to the west.
Right,
And
okay.
east, right?
Again, unless you have some traffic going in and out of there,
Claire, that little
we're not gonna have
Well,
representative. I mean, if 10 cars a day go in and out of there and there's no crashes, you say, okay, there's no crashes because at a spot where 10 cars a day go in and out. But we're trying to get a sense for a type of crash. You know, that's what we're trying to get.
Sort of
a
a
type of crash.
cumulative impact.
We wouldn't ask you to mitigate it. We just want to make sure that type of crash is not prevalent there, and then you're going to be putting this driveway in there. Like I said, if we had real-time traffic counts at the driveway, maybe they would have shown less of delay for vehicles leaving the driveway, and you say, you know what, not likely that they're going to be forced themselves into a shorter gap than safe, but we don't have that, so that's why out of an abundance of caution, I asked for the crash analysis there. And look, a crash analysis is a standard part of a traffic impact study.
Right, right.
Claire, is
So, I'm sorry, what was the distance then? You're recommending then? More than the.
At the map,
290?
I'll shoot you an email and give you something reasonable. But I mean, R&M can do it. They do this type of thing all the time. They
Some distance away.
Catch the commercial properties.
just catch it, you know, there's a reasonable amount of traffic entering and leaving the highway. A couple of the intersections, east and west, whatever. I mean, I wouldn't go out to the commercial driveways east of there because it's very busy there, but you might take a look. You want to see stop sign controlled locations or no traffic control locations like driveways. Are there right angle or left turn crashes taking place along there that might be attributed to people, you know, frustration on the part of drivers taking short gaps? Just take a look. It's not, in my opinion, you're not going to find a big crash experience as a result of this. But again, we don't have the real-time data, so we got to make sure.
Claire, the property across the street, is that residentially zoned?
Yes.
Yes.
And right across is light industrial,
Well, it's our HB, highway business.
highway business.
That whole stretch. Okay, so do you agree with David's analysis? That just the safety and everything else can be dealt with the site plan?
Yeah, but we haven't read any response to them. I mean,
I
You
mean,
want us to do-
it basically agrees and then
Yeah.
says the last 5 or 6 comments are site plan comments.
Do you think you would want to see the turning radius too? 'Cause that's pretty easy to generate.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty standard.
That's the site plan issue.
Vinny, have you seen the response?
No, he hasn't.
No.
Okay.
It's
No.
not been submitted.
I think if, once you get a chance to look at it, if you think it's all reasonable, then
Okay,
proceed with
send
the
it
crash
over.
analysis, proceed with the turning.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Most of the stuff is site plan stuff. It has nothing to do with SQL. But, I think the idea that, when you speak from impact, the impact due to the action is, increasing traffic because you changed, because you the density and to commensurate potential safety implications.
Good, so I'll get that to you then. And then if there's any other issues, obviously let me know, but we'll then wait unless you hear from us, otherwise, we'll get your traffic safety information, right?
Right.
Number
Crash.
5, and then the turning radius, which I think you can do pretty easy.
They'll get that easy and just wait on the state.
Okay, perfect. Anything else? That's good, thank you. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, and thanks for promoting me. Now, off to the dentist.
Thanks, Vinny.
Claire, you're North Sea Park, SYS.
Oh, that's actually an extension, if you want to do that very quickly.
Sure.
For 2 weeks until the July 10th meeting.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by George, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Is this the antenna? No.
Yeah, that's the antenna.
Okay, well, I thought maybe we could talk about it because Janice had some interesting alternative locations there.
I think that's what they're looking into,
Yeah, okay.
alternative locations. So, get you a plan so you can look at that for the next time.
Great.
Okay. Do you want to bounce back into the agenda? I'm not quite sure where you were at.
Watermill Building Supply.
Oh, yeah, we can do that very quickly too.
Yeah. It's here.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, how are you?
They have submitted a,
Your name for the record.
Yes, Robert Fischetti, Brennan Fischetti for the applicant.
they submitted a final application for the subdivision, but then meantime, they're before the ZBA, right? So they had to get approval from the ZBA to
On that
facilitate the
subdivision.
subdivision and the size of the buildings, right, issues. So there's 2 actions. One will deem the final application incomplete. You need the health department, you need the ZBA to do that. The second one would be the ZBA has coordinated with us. Are you for lead agency? And
Yeah.
I think you'd want lead agency in this case. So that would be
Yes,
the
yeah.
actions in front of you.
Okay.
Oh, it's the
Is that the same
Yeah.
one?
It's just one resolution.
Two sets.
Yeah. Just, I put it in one resolution. We could do it 2 if you'd like.
No, just.
Yeah, either way, we can split it up.
Okay. So one, we're deeming it complete, incomplete. Okay, let's separate it. Motion to deem it incomplete by George, second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. And the second one,
You would request lead agency.
lead agency. Motion by Gloria, second by David, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. So we're lead agency and the application's incomplete. Okay?
Right.
Question.
Yeah.
So I know, so we submitted as part of the EAF, we submitted the traffic analysis, and then the plan was that you will hire similar situation, someone is at. When do you take action to hire the consultant?
Only when we can accept lead agency because, someone else could.
Oh, gotcha.
zoom
So
in
once you
and
get
grab lead
through that,
agency,
then you
yeah.
can actually take the step to hire
Only when
somebody.
they accept lead agency can they consider hiring someone to review the traffic, which I think you want to do that in
Yep.
this case.
Yes.
The ZBA responds to you, you get that sorted out, and then you hire somebody. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So there's steps to take.
Many steps.
Can we do anything before we deem the application complete?
Oh, yes. You mean do secra before the application's complete? Is that
Or
what you meant?
hire a consultant?
Yes.
We can do that.
Absolutely. Okay. It's part of, secra allows it, and then also the town code allows it, so.
Okay.
It seems like you need one before the other, but.
We paid our fee and put in our application, so that's what
Yeah, and we want to see that. We want to see, it's ZBA is looking at their thing, we're looking at our thing, and we want to make sure it's all together, because you're doing secret for every person, every entity.
Yeah, no, that I realize.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
Okay, Anthony.
Yep.
21 Columbia Inc.
No, we got to go back.
Go back.
Oh, that's right, we're sorry.
6 is off the agenda, if you remember, but the 2 that I put on that didn't make it to the agenda, I'm sticking
Right,
it.
6, Brockhampton is off.
We're going
But
to do
Anthony's
Cedar Field,
slotted in Cedar Field, lot
Lot
13.
Introduce yourself to the board.
What are we looking
The
at?
Hampton
Do
is
we
We're
have-
looking at,
Do we have anything written down anywhere that I
No,
can
this
read?
2 projects just didn't make it to the agenda, but we're on the staff meeting agenda, so I don't know what happened. It's my fault.
Which one
so
are we
we're
on now?
adding, you're taking out Brockhampton,
Right.
and we're inserting 2 applications that you don't
Oh,
have.
don't have here, okay.
One is Cedar Field, lot 13, and the other is Hampton Collective. So we'll review those. They're Anthony's.
So 13 Cedar Field. So this was a subdivision that was done some time ago. One of these weird subdivisions with, flag lots and access points. The 2 lots here on Montauk Highway had a buffer that was established on the road.
Where are we?
Oh, I'm sorry. We
Yeah,
are.
we have no paper, Anthony, so
I'm sorry about that.
baby, walk us through it.
Yes. Part of town over here.
Thank you. I'd like to know, like, are we in Australia?
West Hampton.
Part of town right here. Montauk Highway.
Chesterfield's West Hampton.
Yep, we're in West Hampton here. On Depot Road, to the west of Depot Road. School down here.
There's a pretty current area too. You see all the condos built.
Just went by there.
This is a property right here.
It's the red square.
Yeah. When this subdivision was done, you can see you've got easements, flag lots coming all the way down the cul-de-sac. These two lots had buffers established on the highway and no vehicular access onto the highway. The owner here is securing or secured permits from the building department and is asking the planning board if they would consider a temporary access through the buffer here, with the understanding that it would have to be revegetated for the purposes of construction. What's happening is neighbors are getting up in arms now about construction vehicles coming through the subdivision. It's not the greatest location to come all the way down here from a cul-de-sac and hurl trucks down here, make this a turn, and then
Is
come
that
to the
just
property.
a shared driveway?
Yeah.
That's Depot Road, right?
Yeah.
So the train station's up at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
That's correct.
Well,
So basically, and what's your name again? I'm sorry.
Peter Ballard.
Peter Ballard. Mr. Ballard is asking if the planning board be willing to, grant temporary access through the buffer on Montauk for the purposes of construction, and subject to a revegetation plan that would be, to be
Any
reviewed
large
and approved by the
trees
planning
that
board.
would have to come down, like big caliber, large cat, is it just brush?
There's
some pretty substantial.
some pretty big trees in there.
Yeah,
That's the gist of this request here.
If I could answer that, though, to be honest with the trees, given the lot, width, there are, I'm looking for basically something 16 to 20 foot wide entrance to kind of go through. There are 3 or 4 sections where I've already kind of like circumnavigated to make sure from a vegetation perspective, I wouldn't be obstructing anything large like oak or maple that's over like a 10-inch diameter. So I can do that quite easily off of that.
So could we get some kind of, survey or inventory of
I'm happy to
what's
do-
there? And
Yeah, 100%.
Because
That's
if you take out a 10-inch tree,
correct.
I would think we would want a 10-inch tree,
Correct.
back in.
Correct. Yes.
Unless you put a 10-inch tree back, which is going to be very expensive.
Yeah, no, I understand. That was part of me looking at it, from the perimeter and trying to find, that 16 to 20 foot area that I could make the entrance. But however you'd like me to document it, whether it's video and picture, also list, I'm happy to do that. I could bring in an arborist that I work with as well. If you want that as well, I'm happy to do anything from that perspective. And then the rejuvenation or replanting it, I am 100% on board from size and perspective of, eye to eye and matching.
So that's what I'll do for this board then. If the board's willing to consider it, I'll have them map it out with me. I'll work with them so we know exactly where it's going to go, and then I'll bring it back to this
Do the
board.
least
You
amount
could
of
show them a
damage.
plan, and then maybe even flag it in the, the limits in the field, so that either you or Teresa or somebody can take a look at it.
No, we'll do that.
Also,
I go one step beyond.
Okay.
Whatever gets taken out, an estimate on the cost of what's going to go in, and we take a maintenance bond on it,
You'd have to.
because.
In this case, yeah, we probably would.
yeah.
It is a covenanted buffer. We
Yeah.
could do that.
The other thing you'd want to see is how you're going to stabilize that construction shoulder. They use the wrap, the stones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just shows,
Yeah.
pick that somehow, so.
In like a gravel, heavy gravel.
Yeah, they use that,
They use the
there's a
biggest,
whole town spec.
Yeah,
right?
there's a spec.
Yeah, the engineer has a spec usually that you put on the plan to show what the
They
construction.
put RCA
The
down.
mud's still running.
And if you have an arborist that, obviously
But
they're
we should
certified
really
and
be
everything.
specific about it,
Yeah.
Anthony.
I could do that.
Okay.
And I'll make sure it's written up. I just wanted to get him before
Yeah.
the board to make sure before he
We're
goes
okay
through the expense, yeah.
Is the access onto, what's the road the access looking for, on Montauk Highway?
Montauk
Highway.
And so do we need any kind of county approval to get, to create a?
Not if it's
No.
temporary.
Temporary
Not for
curb cut.
temporary construction, you know.
Permit you would, but not temporary.
You know, when, you know, having been out there, you know, to this here, this is a sort of a terrible way to come down to get vehicles in. So, but I'll map it out with the owner and I'll come back to the board. Board
Good.
seems to be okay with it.
And your arborist will be able to give you an estimate.
Oh, without, yes.
Okay.
You the owner?
Sorry, sir?
Are you the owner or the agent?
I'm the owner.
Owner.
Peter Ballard?
Ballard's Bellard, Ballard, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate your time.
good.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
All right, Anthony, want to move into Hampton Collective?
Ask permission instead of taking permit.
Oh, that's good.
Ask permission instead of.
Yes, isn't that nice? Yeah.
It's a nice change.
Yeah, it's a-
We wish everybody was.
So, I gotta find the address.
County Road 39, isn't it? Just the
Just
one in
east of
Mecox Garden?
North Main, yeah.
Oh, they have a North Main address.
241 County Road.
How much, what is it?
241.
Oh.
This is not on the agenda.
No, they were
just
not
missed-
on
just
the,
left
they
off
were
the agenda.
added
Yeah.
because Anthony should.
So
This
we
is the one that we just talked about.
just had a public hearing.
Yes.
Right.
We had a public
The
hearing.
people from Newberry Lane Road, whatever.
From behind, yeah.
Yeah.
As you see, when you get a lot of these hearings, sometimes we get neighbors that come out, have questions about things and raise questions about other problems in the area. So, so we know that there's parking going on here from the adjacent property, and their plan indicate, you know, does show fencing, some gates, something to try to prevent this from happening. The issue is the other property, not this property. I already know.
And they did not want cross-access. They,
Yeah, but when we get to the report and everything, we could have a detailed discussion about that.
exactly.
Right now, Dave is here. One of the parts of this is his cannabis application, and we just had the public hearing on, as you know, is the storage building. What Dave is looking for is to move forward with the permit, at least to be able to submit a demolition and building permit for the construction of the new storage building, which is replacing this building here. I know Jackie had a question for me
Yeah,
about.
I'm not quite sure of the exact New York State regs. Is this storage for for cannabis materials?
It's proposed.
Yeah.
Right, it's
And
contingent upon your approval, the site plan
I
ultimately.
don't know what the New York State regs are, that cannabis needs to be in the main area where it's sold and stored. There's some warehousing regs. So so we'd have to really look at that.
Well, I think you're referring to a certain rule, and we have the lawyers that drafted that law are part of the ownership group. They were here at the public hearing. And I posed that question to them, and they said, well, there's a bunch of different 3 points. One, it's part of the main building. I think the easiest way is if we look at the site plan, but they're connected. So this would be, you know, sort of the main part of the dispensary, and then this would be the storage, but they're connected. So it's not an accessory building, it's a connected building.
But you want to tear that down and build a new wing
With the connection.
with the connection?
It's connected at the moment?
It's connected at the moment. You know, I should take a step back. There are 3 entities involved in this property, right? There's the landlord, the ultimate owner. There is the current tenant, which is a furniture company called Merit. And they have leased the whole property. And then there's the proposed dispensary, the third entity. And the landlord made a building permit application to rehab that building. Ultimately, and I'll show you some pictures of it, they decided to tear it down because it wasn't worth keeping. Right?
That building, meaning the storage building or
This storage building, which is currently, or on some of the prior surveys, called a greenhouse, right? But it's a storage building to the Merit furniture operation, right? It's proposed to become part of the dispensary operation, but it is connected and it'll remain connected. So the property owner made the building permit application. You remember at the same time, the tenant made an application asking you to bless a prior site plan at the same time that we were coming in and we had our pre-submission conference. So they've gotten together. The site plan now includes the improvements that were contemplated by the tenant. But the landlord now, who has an obligation with this building, would like to get the building permit in place. So we're asking for no objection to a building permit for that building. And then for the bathroom in this main structure to become ADA conforming, and then put in 4 or 5 electric outlets in there, very minor electric work. You know, I think it's, you know, I don't often come and ask you for no objection to the issuance of a building permit on a project that's coming, but this building will ultimately be used by the current tenant or by the dispensary when they get their approval. But one way or the other, this building is a part of the property. It's existed for 50 years as part of the Frankenbach operation. It is in
David, what does the CO say? The C of O?
For the property.
Yeah, and specifically for that building, does it?
It says greenhouse on it, I think.
Is it a glass structure or temporary?
Here's a series of pictures. that you'll-
Just, we'll hand them out.
The first photo shows, well, it shows this here. I'm looking from in between the two buildings to where the connection is.
Yeah. It's just galvanized sheet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see I'm in between again at the two buildings, looking at an entrance door there.
Looks like a good wind will take care of
That's,
this.
well, that's the problem. That's why the landlord is anxious to get this done, and we've been in the process for a little while.
So the certificate of occupancy actually refers to this structure?
I think it refers to the storage.
Garden nursery section.
So there's no,
That structure, whether it's called a greenhouse, whatever it was on the previous site plan, is CO'd.
It is CO'd.
100%. When we looked at this, if you recall, there was like one structure here,
In
I
the
think.
back.
Yeah, but this one is CO'd. That one was legally constructed.
So we have to find out if New York State.
So I did look into this a little bit since
Yeah.
I spoke with our town attorney's office. So there's nothing specific in our regulations when we adopted them that stated that. There's nothing really in the New York State regs that say that specifically, that it has to be, you know, it just says within the premises. So it's left open for interpretation, but what I was told by town attorney's office I spoke to over there, that what they would ask for is that something from the Office of Cannabis Management showing that they've reviewed and looked at the site plan and are okay with you know, it meets their standards. Because if that's the case, then we're okay. Then there's no question about it.
Yeah.
I just handed you the license that the cannabis dispensary was issued, and part of that application included the site plan. So they have approved the plan as it was submitted.
Right. Only reason I mention that is because in another instance we had, the warehousing of product had to be under lock and key and same structure, so
Yeah, there's
that's why I bring it up.
Yeah, severe security measures.
Yes.
Does the site plan that was approved by Cannabis Management label that as storage?
Yes.
Yeah, the site plan that we got does show it as storage as
There's
well.
no septic or running water or anything that's gonna have to,
No,
It's just a-
it's just a straight storage. So,
Okay.
so what we're looking for is no objection to a building permit. We have to go through the building permit process, ARB, and all of the other things, but the building department will not take an application.
Well, active site plan, yeah.
So who's making the application, David? The owner?
The landlord,
The landlord?
right.
And you're representing him as well?
I've got all three of them.
Yeah, we got the authorization.
You got all of them?
Yeah.
And
This turned out to be more efficient.
Herding cats.
cabinet furniture maker is staying, or that he's
Yes.
leaving?
Yes, so he will be, if this works, primarily here, that's his garage, and then these two storage units back here are his. So the dispensary is here, and then here, and then the furniture has storage in here as well. So that building's cut off, so sort of backwards L.
And we can have two uses here?
Yes. You have more.
Okay,
Yeah, one use per 20,000 square feet, and we're somewhere well over 2 acres.
okay, just,
Always the first thing I like to look at is the number. of
well,
uses.
I'm just asking because I haven't heard.
330-30.
No,
And the
yeah,
size of it?
unfortunately, I
The size of the building? The
Oh,
green?
I'd say 1,009
Addition.
square feet. And I guess one of the things that I thought might be compelling to you on this is if we look at your old approval in 2008, what's proposed is exactly inch for inch the same. So it's a replacement in kind.
It's
really.
gonna be a tin shed?
No, no.
Well, you,
Gotta be
I
careful what I
took you
say.
literally.
This is what the plan that was submitted to the building department. It shows the building. It's no higher, no larger, but it's a substantial building because if it's part of the dispensary.
Has to look like
it's gotta
that
be
architecture.
secure. Yeah, but it's gonna look exactly the same. It's barely visible, the current one from the street. You really can't see it. And, you know, one of the.
Staples back.
One of the complaints from the tenant is the conduct of the nightclub next door and people coming over. So the need for a more secure building, one way or the other, is necessary. And if you've seen the pictures, this other building's falling down.
yeah.
So he before this process started, trying to get a building.
Are there elevations in here?
Lots of specs and no pictures.
In the
Coming to
back? Let's see, so what is that material?
a metal building, if I remember.
It's a metal building?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, well, you can see right here, I'll give you, you can see, actually, you clearly can't see, actually, the building from the road. Yeah, you can see right here, Dennis.
Gotta go to ARB anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna send it to ARB, so it is subject to.
We gotta go through the whole process. It's just we're hung up.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't actually, if they're listening to this, have any issues with even getting the demo and the building permit. We've already had the hearing, we closed the hearing. By the time they get their building permit in and their demo, I mean, we'll probably be done with this process anyway. So we're close at
Give
this
you
point.
these
so-
back.
Okay, he wants to get the building taken
They wanted to
down.
start the
They won't
process.
take the application, right? And it's,
Okay, so they're
there's
gonna,
a wait.
so they demo it, how are they taking it out? I mean, I'm interested now because we're having issues of demolition trucks and it's right on 20.
So there's plenty of room to stage, right? If you
So it'll come down.
If you
and-
come in here, right, there's plenty of.
They've got two.
You have plenty of
major
room to
curb
come
cuts.
in back here, right through here. These are all at grade sort of paver patios that is part of the Fox Gardens use.
Mhm.
So it's, I think it's an easy access and they'll come in from behind and take care of it.
It's got shingle roof, which is definitely better than what's there, and, yeah.
What do you mean, that burlap sack?
So it looks like.
Okay, any other questions?
So it's no objection for the issuance of a, or submission of a demolition or building permit for the cannabis storage building with no vested rights.
Right, because things could change, there could be requirements.
I mean, and the other thing that we were looking for was be able to make this bathroom ADA compliant.
Oh.
And add a little bit, 4 or 5 electric outlets in that building.
Because you have much better circulation access with 2 exit points in the new building as opposed to what you have
That should
right
be
now.
done at some point
We
anyway.
include the
Yeah,
bathroom?
I mean, we have to. Yeah.
No,
That's interior stuff.
yeah, okay. So motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
So
Yeah, go.
we can do the bathroom and the.
No, just the shed. Claire? Oh, Anthony, you're the West Hampton Activity Center.
Because now they have 2 meetings.
192.
Yeah, we'll do, he took a break. Anthony, you want to do, Claire, you want to do 192? 192 West Montauk Highway.
It's number 8. It is to review the signs associated with the 7-Eleven, which is 192 West Montauk Highway. Had done a site plan approved back in 2019. It's been extended, and you want to identify yourself? Yes.
Yeah, no, you can.
Well, I think you should identify.
And your name?
Identify myself, yes, I
Yes.
can do that. My name is Peggy Kelly. I'm with Kelly's Expediting. My offices are at 2150 Smithtown Avenue, Suite 5 in Ronkonkoma, New York.
Thank you. Getting our cross access.
Yes, we have the cross access. There's 2 signs we're talking about. One is the identification sign, and the other one. I guess there's 2 of that. And the other one is the Christian sign, and the one that's on the building itself. So these are the signs.
Thank you.
I don't know about scale, but it looks huge. Is that? Oh,
They got dimensions in it.
They have to comply with the.
Yeah, that complies as far as I know, right? It's March, double check it.
So this is an alternate logo for 7-Eleven?
Alternate logo?
Yeah, it's not the same as the logo on the other sign, so just, my question is,
The wall signs don't have the background on, behind them. This is the pylon signs or the monument signs, have the background around them. The wall signs are just the letter 7 with the wording 11.
so that's their logo? That's their corporate logo, right?
That's their corporate logo on a wall sign. The wall sign is conforming, did not require any variances. The monument sign did require setback variance to 6 feet, and it also got a variance for the number of colors. Normally 3 are allowed, they did give them a variance for 4. This goes back to July 21st, 2022. That's when they went in front of the zoning board and got the approval for the variances for the setback on the monument and the colors. I was in front of the ARB board 2 weeks ago to get their approval of the monument sign and the wall sign. The only condition that they asked for is that we put the street number on it, so that it conforms to the code for identity for emergency vehicles. So we're proposing to put the number on both sides of this monument sign, which will be reviewed through the building department when we go for our sign permit as a condition of ARB.
Well, that's so disconnected, it means nothing. If I looked at it, 192, I wouldn't know what that means. What is 192?
That's their street address. They asked for a street address as per your code to be on the signs. For emergency vehicle identification.
Where are you putting it? Can I look at that?
The only place that we can put it is on the top.
On the
I
top.
checked with the building department, we're not allowed to put it on the posts. So we can
But I
only
think
put
the
it,
issue is just, it's 192, not 192 Montauk Highway.
Correct, it doesn't.
But that's good
require-
enough, that is
Good
good
enough.
enough
Yeah.
for, it's a fire person, that's what they look for.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good enough, George?
Yeah, I mean,
It's emergency vehicle identification.
you know, West Montauk, you just need a number more than,
And is ZBA aware of the color and all the sign requirements that they're giving variances?
And it was a little bit suspect, right? I mean, I'm counting 3 as I'm looking at it right now.
yeah, the brown is the fourth, or?
Unfortunately, I did not handle that application back in 2022, and I could never get so as Claire is saying, the interpretation of our variance is that the fourth sign is the brown, which is the post in the background.
Right.
I can show you the variance as it was granted if you.
I didn't see, I was counting 3, and then I said, well, it could only be the brown and the backboard, right, which,
White, I don't think they put a white. White, they're green.
Yeah, it's red, green, and white, and I don't,
Then
I
the
mean,
bronze.
I wouldn't even count that, but.
But that's what they did count, and then they gave them the 4 colors. And then the setback, which in normal circumstances, you did not support. You had a comments on this, and you
We
did not
did.
support it. You did not support the setback, because it's a brand new site. They have no problem
Setting
putting it 20 feet from the property.
Yeah, so why?
They granted it.
And there are 4 goosenecks on this, on the wall sign?
Yes.
Size-wise, it looks enormous. And that's the, is there anything else in this building?
No, it's just it's convenience store, yeah.
convenience store for the gas
And
station.
nothing, and nothing was considered to put the sign here over the entranceway? As opposed to disconnected and having it way down the other end of the building?
Canopy over the entranceway, so to put the sign there also would be difficult.
This is a canopy.
There's a canopy over the doorway.
Fabric canopy or wood?
Whatever materials the roof is. It's an overhang.
It's an overhang. I don't have construction drawings, ma'am, and again, I apologize. I was given this at the last minute to bring the signs in. I didn't, was not part of the prior applications
Yeah.
or their approval to construct.
I don't remember this at all.
When did we give a referral, Claire?
Oh, the referral from
Yeah.
the zoning board of appeals to 2022.
22.
And
That was 3
we,
years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was here. Maybe I was out to lunch that day.
Can't remember everything.
Yeah.
no, but 6 feet. I mean, I certainly would
Yeah, I
challenge
remember
that.
the discussion about having 2 signs at 7-Eleven, but it turned out one was gas and one was the building itself, but you know, the other part of it, maybe we didn't have the signs and so on at the time, you know.
I think there was signs, but I'm not quite sure because, but I do know that you wrote that they should comply with the code.
Where is it, Claire, on the,
Where's the site?
yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Right by Stop and Shop.
Stop and Shop.
Between
It's right
Macy's
next to
and-
Stop and Shop between
Was that
Macy's where the Macy's.
Old repair shop.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Sunoco,
there.
this is
Now I
Sunoco.
remember it.
Yes, yes,
I was
yes.
thinking it was further east when I was trying to look on my map.
No, this does
That's
have
west.
direct access to the
And
stop
this is gonna provide the
Okay,
rear
yeah.
link over to the Stop and Shop.
I feel better now. I do remember this.
Okay, so you
can
can,
Anthony pull it up? One
That is
ninety-
it.
right there.
That's
That
all
is
right.
it.
Stop and Shop is the left McDonald's and then the,
Oh, there it is.
just the,
Oh, yeah, it's under construction. I
You
saw
see
that.
the,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
see
yeah,
to the
yeah.
left, the cross access that's gonna run right through the back of that?
Yeah.
And extend into the Macy's parking lot.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
There's one piece.
And so the sign is 6 feet off the road,
Off of Montauk Avenue.
and they've got plenty of room there.
They got a ZBA for that, didn't they?
We're questioning it. We
I
did
know.
not support it.
Can we override the
As we
CBA?
never do.
They're out of.
Yeah, at that point. Yeah.
And there was supposed to, between the Macy's lot and the Stop and Shop, there was supposed to be
I
access.
mean, we're sort of caught in a
cross
vice
access.
here, you know?
There is
with-
cross access.
Are they connecting?
We can get it
Right.
over there.
Because the Stop and Shop parking lot
Macy's
shows
is
the,
above.
Oh, but the Macy's side is the problem.
Macy's is the problem.
There's a very good elevation change there too, right? No?
Well, that Macy's will be closing, and who knows what will happen. So we don't have a choice here, right?
It complies with code. If you feel design is something that needs adjustments, that is in your purview.
I'm looking at two different logos here, so I don't know. There's one for the wall sign, and there's one which is the classic 7-Eleven's logo. This is not what's on the building. It's a huge 7-Eleven sign.
But the sign on the building is 30 inches, it's 7, so it's less than 3 feet.
At less than what?
3 feet, it's 30 inches. The 7, all letters are 7 inches, or 30 inches. And the total length of the sign is 13 feet, 10 inches.
And the building is how big?
50 feet. Is 50 feet.
A third of the building, a little bit less than a third of the building.
It does conform to the square footage that is allowed by the sign code for the length of the building.
And height-wise as well, Claire?
Yes.
I don't want to get into another Petco situation.
Or
Barnes and Noble.
The height is 6 feet. That's for the monument sign. The height for the wall sign is, the wall sign allowed is 20 feet, and we are at 12.5.
It's all compliant.
Is this, you know, I mean, you drive past things so often, and you never really, I mean, there's a brand new 7-Eleven just built in West Hampton. I'm trying to remember what signage they have on the brand new West Hampton, just by the railroad track on Old River Road. And of course,
Can't remember.
I can't remember now, but I can go back, unless we can pull it up and look at Street View.
The Street View
7-Eleven on Old River Road next to the railroad track.
Can you do that,
You want me
Brenda?
to pull it up, Claire? You're gonna find a change in the
Yes.
sign.
Sorry?
There is this change in the sign. Also, there was a change in colors that was done maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I do a lot of 7-Eleven sign buildings as well as their signage. So an older 7-Eleven may not conform to this.
old.
Well, this is just two,
brand new.
this is two,
Yeah, the
a
brand
year.
new took out the orange on the 7.
Yeah, right there.
Used to be
the one in the corner.
another color on the letter 7, used to be orange.
And now it's red?
It's all red.
Is that new, George?
Yeah,
Yeah.
within the last year, 18 months maybe. It's all hidden by the trees and the
Let's see if I
canopy.
could go in the other direction.
I'm surprised they even have that.
Where is this one?
Sometimes it's so
In West Hampton Beach, just
Oh,
So it's
By the road
just
is-
It's
over,
on- Oh, it's blocked by the
it's blocked by the
canopies.
canopy for the gas station building.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
It's just
Oh,
all,
that's
swa-
the railroad.
it's,
It's the letters, yeah.
Every-
It is letters like
so it's the
this.
same thing, 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
all spelled out.
what about
And what
I
about
don't
the-
see the
what about
gas-
the
the gas
gas-
pipe?
The gas sign is
Is signs.
kind of similar to what's here.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's right to the
Oh, right
right.
here.
You look at it from the other side.
Oh,
It's white, there's no green around
Right.
it.
The change, again, has been in the,
Yep.
Oh,
it was
it's
all white
black.
background initially.
That's much
Good work,
nicer.
George.
Good, yes, George, good. Nice to have
I
a
was like,
reference.
couldn't remember what it looked like because I drive past it 5 times a day, but.
but you don't see it.
So this is going to be a 6-foot post. Okay, and that's nice like that. I wonder how far in that is.
It's clear, right?
Yeah.
Can we change the,
I'm just
Make it-
counting the colors.
making it more like that, a monument instead of a 6-foot pole?
I think, yes, you could.
That's quite nice, a nice look.
Zoom back in.
so how big do you think that sign is? So that's 7-Eleven is much bigger than the one we're seeing on this one, right?
Well, but this is on a 6-foot pole. This is 6 foot
It's 6
in
foot
the
tall. So
air.
how tall do you think that one is?
I don't know.
The sign itself is probably about 4 feet. That's the typical background for the gas station pricing sign, and your base is probably 2 to 3 feet.
So it's an
So,
overall.
and again, they would have had to meet the code, which I believe is 6 feet. Your code for a monument sign and heights.
But if they're only 6 feet in, this looks a lot better than one of these 6-foot pole signs.
Because of the base.
6 feet. Monument sign
The
allowable
base
by
just looks
code.
nicer. Look, the stone base looks a lot nicer than just the poles.
Here's the issue, is that it does, the ZBA does give a proposed dual pole freestanding sign. It's very specific.
You have to talk to that ZBA.
I think they're different people
Unless
there
the
now.
applicant is willing to do a monument sign, it would be very hard pressed to
Right.
force them to do
Do you think your applicant would?
Unfortunately, probably this gas station is almost complete. They're looking to open it in about 3 to 4 weeks. So, in it,
We're not that close. They haven't called me
I
yet.
know the contractor. Clear.
Yeah,
I know the
and I know
contractor,
my
how
site
fast-
inspections
Okay.
are.
Your site inspections. But will we have to go back through the ARB board and everything again if we change this?
The monument sign? I don't know.
I don't think so.
No?
Why?
No, I mean, we're the determining
ZBA
board
was
for
just
that.
Setback.
Okay, but if I file to the building department for my sign permit, they send it to the ARB. And the ARB told me at their hearing that they would confirm that I put the street number on the sign through the building permit processing of the sign permit. So I'm unaware of to what the procedure would have to be to take this back through the necessary boards.
But they
Well, it
meet
complies.
every week
Yeah.
before your meeting, so we could, when we see it, they could review it first.
This is certainly a much better looking sign, really. I'm glad you remembered this, George. And is this their new plan, the 7-Eleven, to use these monument with stone bases?
It
Because
depends
this is
on-
brand new.
Correct, on their location and what the town requires as far as a sign design. All right, this, just like every other town, would have gone through a procedure and the review through planning and architectural and everything. You happen to have an architectural review board here, and we did present it to them, so.
Right, but we can override the ARB as a
We
board.
gave the referral to the ARB.
They're a referral.
They're a referral to the planning.
Is that kind of? We really need you to go back and see if they'll do the monument sign. That would be.
Is this West Hampton Beach, George?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
So I
village.
don't know, the
It's the
village, I don't
village,
know
yeah.
what their code
But
is.
is that it's a little bit unusual for the West Ham, for the ARB to actually say, double posted sign
The
versus?
ARB didn't do that.
Oh.
The ZBA, because
I'm
that's.
sorry,
what
the ARB,
They,
the ZBA, because normally
Yeah.
you go to them for setback, not for,
but they like to describe things because they don't want you to then go for something that's non-desirable, right? Like, I'm gonna make
so
it
they
up,
would have
something,
gone, we would have known what the sign was gonna look like when they went to the ZBA.
Yes,
They might
well, yes, and you said they should comply.
They might be thinking of visibility on traffic underneath, they look underneath the sign, I don't know.
They're just very specific, just
Yeah,
like,
I
to anything, you
I
can't
think if they
change.
switch to a monument style, that might affect the setbacks.
Oh, you mean a 6-foot setback?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, but that's, if their description was that they wanted to be more visible, they have the 6-foot setback already.
Yeah.
The monument's gonna be very visible.
Mhm.
And there's nothing on the Hampton Bays site, 924, where, say, if you switch to a monument, that you're not gonna, it's gonna be hidden. I think that's pretty flat. There's no,
Very open.
it's very open.
It's very open, yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't handle the application in front of the zoning board, nor the prior ARB or planning board approvals. This was the sign plan that was developed by key civil engineers that was presented to the boards. So this is what I have to go by.
Engineers.
Well, if you were to ask, who do you have to ask?
It'll have to go to corporate.
Corporate?
It'll have to go to some
You deal with them?
I deal directly through the contractors, through the corporate representatives local, back to the 7-Eleven in Texas.
And isn't there another 7-Eleven that's gonna be built in the rivers, that Riverhead area right around the traffic circle, right? And that's part of us, right? So if we want a monument here, that would kind of let set the stage that each of the ones in the area also get a monument, which would be nice for the town.
I mean, it's just so much classier.
And it looks more country.
Yeah, that's great. I can only ask.
Okay, let's ask. I mean, is everybody in agreement to ask?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I do ask, the question they're gonna ask me is what would be the procedure and the time frame.
If you get that to us, we'll refer it to the ARB, which meets on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because I can't get a sign drawing done.
But
by
they meet,
next
ARB
Tuesday.
meets every.
Show them the
Use
picture.
this, use this.
Okay, I will ask and see what they have to say, and,
There'll be plans in
The
the
question
file.
is, would this have to go back to ZBA?
No.
It doesn't.
No, just
The setback is the
just
only thing
ARB.
that's, there's.
But they
That's what
they specified.
This
the-
would kind of give them a heads up on the next one they're building
Yeah.
in Riverhead, because we know we love the sign. Think about the time they'll save for that.
You know, it's when McDonald's redid all of their, this corporate look that they have, but they accommodated to make the McDonald's here much more in keeping with the East End.
and I understand that completely. I've do this almost 40 years. I
Okay,
understand what
you
you're
got it.
asking for. It's just, I know what I need to do now
Okay,
in order to get this back to you so there is no delay in, because is this sign under manufacturing? I don't know. Has it been, already manufactured? And that's gonna be what corporate has to answer to me as to whether it's feasible to them to change this. The question also is gonna be to me, it's already been reviewed by other boards. And I understand what you're saying too, but those are questions that I know I'm gonna face.
okay.
And they can know that the condition of approval from 2019 was that any and all signs shall be reviewed for the planning board.
I reminded them of that.
Yes, and
Okay.
they signed it.
Thank you, Peggy.
Great, thank you.
Sorry.
I'll do that.
That's
I just
yours.
printed it
Yeah.
out, yeah.
The street map was good.
Okay, thanks. We'll be in touch.
Well, a cup of 7-Eleven coffee.
Can't figure it out. Proposed monument signs here.
Oh, he's not back. Anthony's not back.
Yeah, because here's the.
Yes, here's the store, right?
No.
Can't visualize a piece of land.
Claire Chrysler Dodge, you got another sign?
Look at the signs for this one.
West, and this is to the east, this is between there and the.
I have to look next time. Right. Different than
My name's
It was
Maria
the
Matisse.
from blue to the black that made the difference.
This is Chrysler
Yeah.
Dodge.
The
This is
signs.
right
Yeah.
next to the and then, so this is an application, this is the application for the
For the
sign.
sign.
The ARB had asked for the signs to be more equal
Yeah.
on that side,
Mhm.
so, is this both?
Those are all the ones for the two facades, and then this is the directional. So that's,
There's only the one, the Jeep on the side?
so there's Jeep in Southampton.
Okay,
Those are the two that are now matching in size.
okay.
And facing the road.
That one doesn't face
Oh,
the
this one.
road.
This one. And
That
then this
faces
one.
the road.
And then
the
there's the one on
Chrysler-
top. Those ones, yeah.
Say again,
So this is faces the road,
Southampton.
the Southampton Jeep. That faces County Road 39.
okay.
And then the ones on top will face into the parking lot, which is a public right of way, and
Okay.
that's why it's allowed to do.
That's
Yeah.
that faces the street.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, vice versa. This faces the street.
So the size of the letters is all the same then, that's what.
For Jeep in Southampton, they're both now 2 feet, and then Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram are more or less the same size, as close as they could be with keeping the logos
Mhm.
legible.
And where do I see those?
Do you have them there?
This is the same thing. This is
You
just.
want to see it?
So the question is, where is the Chrysler sign? It doesn't show on that drawing.
Yeah. It's the line drawing that's like up here. It's just not rendered the same way
Oh,
as
okay.
these two elevations.
It will be on the front of the building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
They're
they're
those
rendered
logos.
on this side. Yeah.
I got it.
Yes, these ones
It'll be over there.
are in the front. Okay. There. So that's the. So
And
they
then you
have
had- yeah.
approved that, and then this is the freestanding sign right there. It's Jeep and the Rivian.
Oh,
with the
good.
directions on
Yeah.
them, so that's great. And the location for it is gonna be right here, so when you drive in, you'll be looking at it and it'll show you the direction.
Yeah.
Okay?
Can I see that same plan?
It doesn't show it in the right location there.
Okay.
It showed it 15 feet away, I pointed that out to her and she's now mounted it up on a plan. So
But
that's what's.
how will eastbound traffic know to turn there for Rivian? How will the eastbound traffic know that turn in there for Rivian?
The eastbound traffic.
If you're coming around,
Yeah.
Is it double-sided?
No.
Rivian's gonna have a sign on this property, right?
Where's their sign though? The entry sign?
It's on
If you're
27.
going eastbound, right, you're coming around the corner.
Coming from
You're not
North
gonna-
Main Street,
You're coming from,
eastbound,
Heading
From
towards
County
Woodland.
Road 39.
you are coming
heading
from.
toward the diner. Before you hit the-
so you had it,
You're going eastbound,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
you're gonna, there's a sign here, yes.
Where? I'm sorry.
So you could put it here, but it can't get the 20 feet, so they had to put it here.
It'll say Rivian.
It's saying Rivian, or
It
just like
says
you see
Rivian,
there,
it says Jeep and Rivian.
with the
I
arrows.
thought that's internal.
No, that's the
No.
That's the
identification
one on
sign.
the side of the road.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
and it will be double-sided, like you can see it in the
No, right now it's just on the one side because it's for the people, facing the street.
who are going eastbound.
Yeah. Because Rivian has their own sign directioning towards Jeep from their property. And the easement is going across the front of the easement's not the front of the building, but it's going across the front and then down the side that way, so we wouldn't really need it on the other side.
That's large enough.
And then it's sort of on a gray silver,
Stainless steel.
a stainless steel.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's 4 feet tall and then 210 wide.
Oh, it's visible.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
You know what it is, out of towners, they go for the blue dot. The blue dot's gonna be up by the intersection.
Let's say that again?
People from out of the area, they follow the blue dot on their phone.
Oh.
The blue dot's gonna be, the blue dot's gonna be sitting on the
They're
intersection.
gonna have
and
to
they're
turn
driving along.
around.
Yeah.
Turn around.
In your driveway.
Recalculating, right?
Yeah.
Turn around, you're lost.
Vertebrae's nursery.
Any other questions for this? We're good with it? Great. Thank you so much, Maria.
Thank you so much.
Okay, can you,
Adopt
you'll
a-
be approving that?
Yeah.
Yeah, the plans.
Do you have to adopt a resolution for that?
Yes.
Motion to approve the Chrysler Dodge signage.
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
Thank you so much.
Anthony, you're back. You want to do
West Hampton.
West
That's
Ham?
Claire's, actually.
Oh.
Oh,
It says
My
Anthony.
name on there because she wasn't here last time I took care of it for her. Claire's project.
Okay.
Sorry.
Who
What am I
is-
doing?
West Hampton
And
Activity
what am I
Center.
doing?
That's a very
I
good
think you're
sign.
working.
No, because we still have to do, I think we were doing the
Claire?
secret.
Claire,
Yes.
please take Bridgehampton Commons Target while you're here. He's
Oh,
been
sure,
sitting
of
here all
course.
day.
Yes, I'll do West Hampton. I promise I'll remember what I'm supposed to be
Okay.
doing.
Activity center?
Yeah.
that's
I
on.
thought
So-
it was off. You was just a secret, right? You said that this was gonna be off,
Am I doing secret?
I think it's just secret.
because it's on twice.
Yeah.
Bridgehampton Commons Target.
Madam Chair, Brian Kennedy for the applicant, 4 Kelly Digantarana. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Claire,
I am deeming this complete.
complete.
ZBA
Date of the decision.
First of this month.
It was, yeah. Public hearing was just there.
Oh, right now we're doing, no, right now we're doing,
We added two things. Christine, the agenda's quite messed up.
We're actually all lost.
now we're doing 17, Bridgehampton Commons.
This is to deem the application complete. I mean, I don't know if you need the resolution to do this, but the zoning board of appeals issued the decision to waive the 6 parking spaces on June 5th. And this would be to deem the application complete, and because there's been no public interest, waive the public hearing.
30-day written comment.
30-day written
Yeah.
comment period. I mean, maybe in this case, you might do 20, because I could, if you get comments back, there's only 2 referrals we have to do, town engineer who's seen it already, and fire marshal. So do you want to do 20 days?
Yeah.
And then,
And you're ready to go. I mean,
We
you're,
are ready. We have building permits in for the approvals that you granted as part of the expedited review.
good.
We are ready.
You're ready to go.
So when are you gonna open?
As soon as we get this approval.
we'll hold you to that.
So we're gonna deem this complete.
Yeah, and do it
We're
20
gonna
days.
waive the public hearing, but with a 20-day written comment period.
Yeah, that way, if they're ready in a month, then we can approve them.
And you just, the building permit is to do the carriage things?
Exterior improvements, right, to the loading dock, to the.
Okay, I thought we expedited some of that already.
You did. You did.
There's
We
some of
already
it's
have
been
those
done.
building permits pending.
Okay.
We still needed to come back for the full site plan review, which this application is.
Okay.
Okay.
So motion
Motion?
by Gloria and second by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Claire.
You're welcome.
West Hampton Activity Center?
Yes.
I'm gonna step away and then remember what I'm doing with West Hampton.
Okay.
That's number 16.
And then we're gonna.
Give you a break.
Try to meet 7 and 8.
Well, Anthony, let's do,
70 and 80.
Anthony, you've got number,
21 Columbia, but
I'm gonna jump to 32 Lighthouse.
How about number 10? Is that off?
We're just deeming 32, 18 is gonna be complete.
Are we at number 10?
We are at 10. You wanna do it? 70 and 80 Scuttle Hole Road for Secra. We've done 12, we've done 13, we've done 14.
no, we haven't done 14.
Watermill Building Supply, we have.
I have 21 Columbia.
Yeah, 14 is 21
14.
Columbia, that's what I have. We didn't do that yet.
13, sorry, 13.
13 we did, yep.
14 is incomplete, we did that.
No, we didn't do it.
I have a lot of extra copies of
Didn't do it yet.
Well, not Anthony told us.
the environmental
We haven't
statement.
done it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
mean, I know it's, we haven't done it.
Gotcha.
So this is number 10, old 10.
It's for your own, for your. So these are the two structures that are being developed. They're adjacent to one another. One is for office use with the workforce housing above, 1 unit above, and then the triangle.
That's a triangle.
is the,
School.
the educational service, or the school, 2 workforce housing units above. Warren, is here from Nelson and Pope. What we're looking at SECRA today, I have a draft in front of me for the part 2 and 3, and the resolution for negative declaration. The impacts that I've noted in part 2 are committed so far until we discuss it as no or small impact. I have the narrative that goes with all of that. It's I think it's
the
one that
page
has
with the
draft.
tab.
It's the one that has draft written all over it. If you want me
Yep.
to go into all the impacts and discuss them.
Okay.
So
Can you identify yourself for the record, please?
And Brant Reiner from Nelson Pope and Voorhees here on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Brenna.
So if you're looking at the narrative, the first impact is the impact on land. Both the lots are pretty small. One is just shy of a half acre and one is just over a half acre. Together, they're 0.97 acres. So a fair amount of the land will be disturbed. But there are two 3,000 square foot footprint buildings. There's a partial second floor and a partial finished basement. So the total of each is 4,950 square feet. I mentioned the uses, all permitted. The housing units are by special exception. And we propose drainage and IAs as well. For impact on groundwater, the next impact, it will conform to the Department of Health and county requirements. There's a potential impact for stormwater runoff because of the impervious surface proposed. They are in the groundwater management zone 4, which allows for 300 gallons per day per half acre. And they're proposing liquid waste that's in excess of what's allowable. So I provided a little grid there showing what's allowed versus what they are proposing, and ultimately offsetting the flow of transfer of credits or development rights, and then you will require a variance. So they are allowed 584, and they're proposing 946 if that's the law.
And that's because of, it's being approved because of the affordable housing, workforce housing.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, that's the workforce housing is somewhat of a mitigation, even though it's being built, because it's something we need.
Just clarification, the workforce housing is being added to this project as a benefit to everybody involved.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, and the only reason we need the sanitary flow is for the workforce housing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
I thought that's what you were asking.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make
maybe
sure
I wasn't
covered both
articulating it well.
The second page is impact on ag resources. It's on here because it does have class 2 soils. It's historically may have been farmed, but the home that exists now was built in 1973, and the number 80, or the triangular portion, was always maintained vacant and cleared. Impact on aesthetic resources. The design of the buildings are nearly identical to one another. It's in keeping with the adjacent use to the south, which is also a commercial use OD district. And it's also in keeping with some of the highway business and our village business going down further toward the downtown Watermill Hamlet. It's stucco facade with vertical cedar accents or dormers and a metal roof and glass entry. Historic and archaeological. It is in the archaeological sensitive area. In 2019, there was approval for a subdivision for 2 lots, and they had submitted a report at that time of phase 1A and 1B for the vacant portion, which encountered no historic or prehistoric artifacts, and they recommended no further archaeological work, and we reviewed that during pre-submission as well. Impact on transportation. Both lots will have a shared curb cut, pretty much right in between both of the lots where they meet. Maybe I could pull this one out. It's really the landscape plan because it shows both lots together. So there's a shared single access to the road. There will establish cross access and shared parking between the 2 lots, as well as formalizing a parking agreement with the lot across the way where the church is located for any overflow. So the parking, the proposed parking are 34 spaces cumulatively between both lots. 3 spaces are land bank. What I've calculated to be required is 39 spaces. So there's a discussion here of the land bank spaces, because they sort of go into the front yard as well as a little bit even into the front transition yard. That's these 3 spaces here. So that's one item of discussion. And then the other is any waivers for the housing units and potentially waivers of parking because they're gonna have a shared agreement with a lot across the street. So as I've written it up, I show here what's being proposed and what's required. There's 5 spaces shy, that equates to the 750 square feet of finished open space in the basement of the office building. That's where we're kind of missing that 5 spaces. If the board elects to waive the parking spaces for the units, we'll have 2 potentially to be waived on this lot and 4 on this lot. So that's just, I just want to bring that up as a discussion.
Can we just pause there for a second?
Sure.
Just to get some clarification on this. Prentice calculations include something that we didn't study as part of designing the program, which is the actual unfinished basement space. You know, there was no intention of utilizing that space whatsoever, other than mechanicals and the possibility of putting some boxes down there for the office, you know, as storage for the office. I understand the town parking calculation requirements, but to add 5 parking spaces to a use for an unfinished basement that is not going to generate any additional people being on the site, I think is, you know, something that's difficult to plan for, you know, in terms of adding parking spaces. So if you were to deduct those 5 spaces that are in Prentice calculations from the calculations, we are fully compliant.
And if at some point down the road, the basement gets used for something, an activity or a class, could it be conditioned that then?
It's not the basement use in the school.
Sorry,
it's
yes.
the basement in the house.
The basement use in the school is actually part of the calculations because we are utilizing some of the space.
So it's the house?
And this one complies.
It's the office building that has a fully unfinished basement, and part of that is for mechanicals, and another part of it is going to be unfinished. But to your point, absolutely, if the space is being utilized for any reason other than, you know, boxes for storage, it absolutely has to come back to the planning board and the building department for occupancy of that use or of that space. So what I'm asking you to consider is the fact that the site, as it's designed, actually accommodates the overall uses that are being proposed to you and will be submitted to the building department for occupancy. If you disregard the 5 required for the unfinished basement, again, we are operating pursuant to the town parking requirements.
Well, the alternative to that is to leave the calculations the way they are, and the board can consider whether we waive your requirements for the parking.
That's exactly what I'm asking you to do.
Yeah. Well, you're asking a little bit the opposite of that, though, that you deem it fully compliant based on that basement space being
Conditioned.
I'm making my pitch to you as if I was going to then say to you, I would ask that you waive the requirements for those 5 spaces, and also recognize that you commonly do allow for shared parking with regards to the fact that the workforce housing parking calculations would be offset by the fact that the people that generally occupy those spaces are there when the office space is not operational. So
Yeah, so there's the potential to waive
Is the
those.
calculation based on the fact that it's noted as an office, 750 square feet? If
It
it's
is, yeah.
storage?
The reason I did that is because it's called out on the architectural plan as finished open space, and there's a bathroom down there. So that was really where the rationale for the, and it's 4.1 space, so you have to round up and it quickly becomes 5.
But if it was filed with the designation as storage, would that have changed the calculation?
Potentially. I mean, for storage, it becomes, I think, 1 per 1,000, so at that point, it's, you know, nominal, but,
okay.
Or we could have, you know, maybe at the approval stage, have them revise the architectural plan to say storage use only or something, but again, the bathroom is.
Just condition it, yeah.
Yeah, it's called out as finished space.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
or you leave it as it is and
waive the
waiver, and you could have either a specific, maybe you call out a specific amount to be waived in addition to the waiver for the units, and then.
At least we'd want to show a rationale for the waiver, right? We're giving a
Yeah,
waiver, we'd have to
the
say
waiver
because
you
it's
can
storage.
do, the code allows for the waiver for you can do the waiver for the housing units. And
Yeah.
then the code allows for waiver of additional use, spaces, so long as there's cross-access and, shared parking and parking agreements. So it's,
Yeah.
you can do it, the board can do it.
Okay,
I know what
we're in
you mean.
agreement.
So I just
Yeah.
This is the waiver I wanted to show
I think
rationale
you're
on the
better off-
record. It's
So
because,
waive the 5 spaces that are required for the
Yes.
basement, and then waive the, all of the parking spaces for all 3 units on both sides.
Well, if you do, you can't do
You don't have
both.
to do
Well,
this,
if you
don't
did
have
that,
to.
if you did that, then we'd be way over. in
Yes,
terms of-
exactly.
So
Yeah.
you could do one of the or the other.
And I
So
was-
then we can just
The
do it to
storage.
the lot number 70,
Yeah.
because that's the one that's under
yeah,
park.
the storage one
Okay.
is the one.
And
that-
shared
Well,
parking
well,
agreement, and we waive the.
Yeah, we make sure that's
I
formalized.
think you're better off leaving it the way it is and allowing the board to waive if we.
Yeah. I
if-
think so
if-
too, because
Because that way, if you ever decide to finish the space or use the space, you don't have to come back to create the additional parking.
That's a great point, and I was just gonna sort of add on to that is by saying I'd like to keep the land bank parking spaces in place for just that reason. If there was a need for, finishing more space on the property in the basement, you'd have the ability to have those
You
parking
Mm-hmm.
need more
spaces there.
employees.
Or if you have more, you have an overflow, or if the school
Takes
is gonna start
additional space.
thriving like we
Right.
all think it's going to,
Need space in the
you might
basement,
have the
yeah.
spaces there rather than having to, use the church parking lot as much. But again, the church parking lot is there,
Yeah.
that they have offered to allow.
Yeah, and
youth
it's
to-
It's empty 99% of the time.
What's that?
Could formalize that.
I'd ask you that we don't formalize it, only because if the property changes hands at some point, that gets a little bit tricky. Again, this is an agreement. I mean, this is an agreement. This is an agreement between the church and these properties as an obvious helping out of the use. If the use changes, or if the church changes ownership, and we have that agreement in place, it probably gets a little bit tricky in terms of transactions. And again, if you were to waive the parking spaces that we just talked about, either you waive the residential unit parking space calculation, or you waive the basement parking calculation requirements, you then get into a conforming parking scenario where everything is matching. So you don't need the church anymore in terms to provide rationale for what you're doing. Our offer to you, bringing the church in, was to say that if there was a need, like say for instance there was some kind of event going on here, and they got an event permit to do something, they would have the ability to utilize the church for people to park and safely walk over to the site. It's just an idea. If you feel like you have to formalize it, I have to take that back to the church and get them to give us our blessing.
So where are we? What was the suggestion?
I'm not sure where we are.
Are we gonna waive the
We're gonna
5
waive the
spaces?
five.
Do the 5,
Waive
it's
the
sort of
5, and
based
then
on
go up to the
having
opposite.
shared parking.
That takes care of everything.
Okay,
Let's share parking with the church.
let's do that.
And I would assume
Formalize.
that as part of the special events permit, the parking issue might have to be addressed.
Absolutely, it does.
So-
When you apply for the special event permit, you have to demonstrate where you will be parking, at which
Yeah.
time we will say.
So
that's when we use
that's
the
when
church.
that
So
gets
you have shared-
formalized.
Okay, so that's the rationale to waive the 5 logging. It's a shared parking project.
And the 2 for the housing unit?
No, just
No,
waive the
I
5.
just-
waive
I
the
would just-
5 on
I would
70, you don't need the 2.
You really need, if it's 4.1, I would reduce it down to need 4 instead of going up to
You gotta go up.
5.
The code says you have to go up.
You have to round up even if
You have
it's
to round up.
4.1?
No,
That's
can't
silly,
get 1/10
isn't
of
it?
a car.
Yes.
One of those
Okay.
scooters.
And then maybe
It's the most imperfect science,
And so,
That's not math, but you can't put part of a car.
okay, so we're gonna deem this application, we have a lot of stuff to do, so.
Yes, yeah, so the impact on the consistency of the community is sort of repetitive with the parking and the sanitary flow. I did draft the resolution for the negative declaration, if the board wants to adopt it. And I have the part 3 in front of you, Jack, is that what it is?
Yes, I signed it. Yep, I signed it.
Can we just stick on the parking one quick moment, though? Because there's one other thing I have to clarify, because it makes the site even more difficult. With regards to the calculations, one of the things that is brought up in here is it says 2 ADA spaces is necessary for the office property, for the office property. To add another ADA space in here would just eat up more landscaping. We can do that, or we can also address the fact that 5% of the parking overall, if we're sharing all the parking spaces, puts us at 2 handicap parking spaces total. We show 2 handicap parking spaces right now on the plan. Based upon the calculations that Prena is proposing here, we would need to add another one, so have a total of 3 handicap parking spaces on the 2 properties.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that.
Well, yeah, because typically it's 5% of what's allowed per the lot. There will be, including the land bank, there are 22 spaces. 5% of that sends us over 1. So it wouldn't be asking for an additional space, but turning one of those spaces into a second ADA.
But what they did, they just waived those parking spaces. So you then come down
still
below.
have 22. I don't know how that works. If you still have
I think-
22 spaces, you need 5% of the 22.
But I think the ADA requirements would require that you need to have at least a parking space for each entrance to each building. You can't put 2 by 1 building, and you have to serve.
So we
each
have
building.
one at each building, that's
Oh,
what
you
I'm
do,
saying.
right.
That's what I'm saying, is what what
I'm sorry,
Brenna's calculation is saying is now we'd have to have 2 on one lot and 1 on
But
the
you
other.
just have to label the one on the other side.
Yeah,
There's no
we're
hardship.
not asking for a
Oh,
separate.
you're saying
an
just the
additional
labels.
space. We're just saying
That's all you have
make
to do.
one.
You have to-
Okay.
Yeah, because
All
you
right.
already got the aisle, so you're all set.
All right.
And so it's not a surprise later when
Then
we're
we're
going
good.
through site plan review, making this
Okay.
one a 9-foot space.
We work
so you
with,
might have to
trying
lose
to
a
make it
foot.
work.
We're
Okay.
trying
I'm
to
trying to
really
get
help
through this
you.
as quickly as possible, sorry guys. But
Don't
if I
complicate
get
it, Brian.
any hiccups later in the game is just gonna make this even more complicated for
Yeah.
me, so, thank you.
Okay, so where are we, Brenna?
So we're waiving the 5, the 2 spaces,
Neg deck.
neg deck resolution, and then if that's all fine, I also drafted a resolution in there for completeness, because with this adoption, we have all the materials required, as well as completeness from the town engineer. So then we could set the hearing for August 14th. So there's 2 actions.
Okay, so let's do secret first with a neg deck.
Motion to make
August
that.
14th?
Motion by Dennis, second by Tom, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. The second action is we're deeming it complete and scheduling a public hearing for
August 14th.
That's 6 weeks.
August 14th. Motion,
Motion.
Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you.
Thank you all.
There's that.
Gloria,
Do you know that
George wants the basket.
No, don't.
Ah,
25,
You want a basket? You could
I
ask.
held him off long enough.
When you starting construction?
25,
We're just trying
26,
hard not to eat any of that stuff.
Let's send it
People-
back at some
Give him
point.
snacks.
20.
Never mind.
Keep it.
Can I have a little attention? 25, 26, 27, 28 are off the agenda. I'm acknowledging the signature of 29, Alexander Vreeland.
That's 6, that's 7. They're all
Sign
off.
that.
Brenna, 104 Montauk Highway is an extension.
Yes, a 90-day extension for October 7th.
Okay, motion on 1004 Montauk Highway, extension to October 2nd, 7th.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Dennis, second by George. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions,
I don't
6
even
in
have, I
favor,
don't even
1
have that on
absent.
the
I
agenda.
didn't have that on the
so I-
It
list,
was on
yeah.
signed plans, but they weren't completely ready with the legal documents.
It was undersigned plans.
Okay.
Move to extension.
About 14.
All right.
I've got
No, well, let
14.
me, let me go back now to the, okay? We've done 11, 12, and 13. Anthony, 14, 21 Columbia. 21 Columbia, what?
Ask you, I have one other, I'm going to graduation, I have one other extension on.
Which one?
Number 22. And that would be it for me.
254 Tuckahoe Lane.
Tuckahoe, it's an extension,
They need another extension, we would take them to September 6th.
September 6th. Motion? Motion by Gloria, second by David, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Now, I have 21 Columbia as Anthony.
I do too.
Okay, is everybody with me?
Yes.
Jackie, Seth has an event he has to go to. Is it possible to move his two up? There, one's two re-veg approvals and one.
23 and 24.
Who is on tonight?
I'm on tonight.
Do you mind, Anthony, if I
Nope.
take him?
Nope, nope.
Okay.
Get rid of these people.
I can feel them squirming in their seats.
I feel them behind me.
Feel them behind you? Okay, so we're holding off on
I would have you move-
14.
Well, number 15 would be next.
15 is you, Seth.
Yes.
Starting out.
Simple completeness pre-application for a two-lot subdivision.
Complete?
Yes, complete.
hearing?
I have the checklist, I can pass around.
That's okay. What's the public hearing date?
August 14th.
August 14th. How are we on August 14th? Kristen, two? Motion?
Motion.
By Gloria and second by David.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
6 in favor, 1 absent. Then we move down to
23.
Leo
Site disturbance.
Leo
23, Leo Bukowski.
That's right. So we're 79 Noyak Path. Don't mind pulling that up. Yeah, this is in the CR 80. It's 41,827 square feet with a revegetation of 4,714. This one came about for when we went in for a building permit. They had started clearing without the permit. That lot is allowed 50%. I have gone back and forth with the applicant and had them put up a
Project limiting fence.
Precisely. So I have nailed down exactly how much of the natural vegetation is there and that it won't be further encroached upon. And they gave me a viable revegetation plan to take place after the construction.
So they had cleared before the building permit?
Yeah, they got it.
Is this Borkowski the principal or the builder or something?
I am dealing with the applicant is Tracy Kirst, who is landscape architect.
Construction, okay.
I don't know the builder or the owner.
Okay, so you're happy with this?
I am.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Motion? No.
Motion by Dennis, second by George. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Roscoe Acres, Section 1, Lot 8.
That's right. This one has a great backstory to it. I'll cut it short though today. Anyway, 22 Old Trail Road. The applicant has lived there since the early 80s. There was a survey presented for closing that said that it was pre-existing 100% cleared. Myself and the chief building inspector went out. We determined the actual level of limit of clearing. The back half being natural, even though there was mossy undergrowth. So we had immediately said that is natural. It is not you are not permitted to clear that entire lot. So the chief building inspector also said instead of 35% clearing, which would be the APOD, because of this lot size, which I haven't told you yet, which is 86,974, pretty much 2 acres. At any rate, a letter of determination was filed on 5/14, granting that lot 40% clearing. So the lot was overcleared by 17.4 by that determination letter.
About 15,000
which is-
square feet I wrote down.
Which is a significant, 15,000, yes, is that
It's also around the corner for me.
15,000, yes, is the number somewhere in my notes.
And is there a re-veg plan?
I do have a re-veg tip.
15,210 to be exact.
To the resolution.
It's in the resolution.
Yes.
Or it's in the summary.
So there is 15,210. I have dealt with the applicant back and forth, refining her revegetation, and she has brought it in. She will bring it into compliance with what she's proposed.
I have a note that I didn't see a re-veg plan in this.
Yes,
As
it
long as-
literally came in like 2 days ago.
Okay, but you've seen it and you're
I've
okay
seen
with it.
I've been working with Marianne Holworth, the real estate brokers here. Julia Almeida is on Zoom, and there's an attorney as well that we've all try to push this thing over as.
I mean, we trust you, but I didn't see anything in the packet.
Yeah, I'm actually helped propose the revegetation.
Good.
So we were back and forth to expedite it in a sense.
Do they need to speak or not?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so then, motion to approve by Tom, second by George, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor.
Well,
Seth,
thank you very much.
I'd like to personally thank you for all that you do with this revegetation work. It's phenomenal. Because you take an interest in it and you track it, you follow it and present it to us beautifully. Thank you.
7 and 28 are all implementing our new covenant on new projects, you know. The Project Liberty.
Yes, I think that's critical. I will take that to everyone.
Yeah, you heard I said I trust you.
Yes. Well, and next comes the tree ordinance. So.
Oh, fingers crossed, great.
Thank you
Anthony,
so
do you
much.
want to do 21 Columbia? Who's
I'm here, they all wanna leave.
Teresa, Hampton Coves Estate.
Town board referral?
Town board referral number 21.
Oh, saw that.
5
Oh.
foot,
All right, so the town board has put forward a public hearing. They had it on
Sure.
Tuesday
Take
night
hold on,
to
Stan. Go back
potentially
up. Take it
consider enacting a code amendment that says property owners, in order to plant ornamental or horticulturally approved plantings, would have to establish that 5 feet from the property line. That doesn't include any areas of revegetation pursuant to a site disturbance application. But for any ornamental vegetation, it would have to be 5 feet from the property line. I think that's a bit difficult to enforce, and I've prepared some comments.
I thought your comments were quite good.
Yes, so whereas the planning board has reviewed the proposed legislation establishing a minimum 5-foot setback from the front and side property lines, and whereas based upon the review, the planning board offers the following comments. 1, property owners are unlikely able to comply as the exact location of property lines are often unknown without surveys and or property monuments. 2, town enforcement is also is likely to be difficult for reasons similar to those outlined in item 1 above. 3, establishment of planting setbacks may result in gore strips, encroachments, and or adverse possession claims. 4, establishment of planting setbacks unduly burden undersized parcels. For example, parcels that are 10,000 square feet, you're already getting rid of quite a large area for them.
right.
And in light of the above, the planning board recommends that section 261-1B3, which is the property maintenance code, be amended to require property owners to maintain to ensure that ornamental vegetation or cultivated vegetation does not encroach onto the adjacent property.
The elephant in the room is that there's currently no administrative process for planting of ornamental. So how's this all going to be and transpire? Which department's going to oversee it? Which is going to enforce it? Which is going to
Exactly, exactly.
That needs to be said maybe right at the top.
Okay, so I'll add a number 1 and then renumber them and
no
say.
mechanism for administrating the planting of ornamental.
So
vegetation.
it's unclear who would administer.
Yeah.
In addition to which, who knows how trees grow? I mean,
How-
it's sort of predicting they're going to grow 1/8 of an inch in 6 months.
I'd love to know what
My
the genesis
understanding-
of this.
I have no,
I'm just gonna ask the same thing. What caused this to be done in the
I have
first
no
I believe
idea.
there were some people who were complaining about having to maintain the vegetation which overgrew onto their property. But state law, well,
You can
I
cut
believe
it.
it's common law, it says
Right.
you can prune anything
Yeah.
on your side of the property
Yeah,
line.
you
Yes,
can cut
yes,
it
I
right
know
from
that's
the
kind of-
Tree
Yeah.
branches, anything, right?
I know my sister-in-law lives in Baldwin and she's got this giant oak tree and she loves the oak tree and she's not getting rid of it and her neighbors hate it. And they just trim up their side, but her backyard is
their
shaded
right.
and theirs is
Yeah.
not.
And this is, the maintenance is covered in section 261-1B3, yeah.
I just trimmed one
Okay.
of my neighbor's tree, which was going over my side.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Motion to approve, motion by Gloria, and second by Dennis. All in favor? Thank you. 6 in favor, 1 absent. Now we
21
are-
Columbia.
We are there
Get
finally.
a few branches like up, but
21 Columbia.
The board might remember this subdivision application. This was a large landlocked parcel
Yep.
that sits behind the old filed map and access off of Columbia Avenue. And Joe Gaza had come to the hearing saying that he did not believe this property had rights of access
Yes.
through, it was a whole big discussion. And actually, we got a determination that they in fact can have access to the property. They've submitted a preliminary application and it's missing a whole bunch of stuff, so it's incomplete.
So if you don't mind,
Motion to deem incomplete.
is that determination from the building inspector or?
No, it's from legal.
Oh,
Motion to deem it incomplete by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor. All in favor?
Aye.
6 in favor, 1
So there's
absent.
no way they would get that. They would
Okay,
get that.
we've done that,
West Hampton.
West Hampton Activity Center, Claire?
Yes, we're just going to assume lead agency with that one.
Okay.
And then we'll have secret for the next week.
Okay, so motion to assume lead agency by Gloria and second by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Claire, you have one more.
715 County Road 39.
Yes.
Complete
do
the
that,
front second
finish
floor
it.
storage.
Yeah, so that would be
Complete?
complete, yes, so they
Public
are,
hearing?
that's formalizing a parking lot, a buffer in the back, some plantings in the front. It is complete, waiving public hearing because there's no public interest on that
Mhm.
one. If you
30
remember
day,
that.
30
That's
day,
that.
30 days?
Strollopoulos Motors, picture that one?
Yeah, yes,
Okay. Yeah, so,
30-day written comment
30-day
period.
written comment period.
Okay, motion to deem this complete
Motion.
and waive the public hearing with a 30-day comment period. Motion by Gloria, second by David, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. You're done.
Okay,
Thank you, Claire.
thank you.
Anthony,
It's all you, Anthony.
it's the Anthony show now.
Once we're done.
Ta-da.
Number,
Lighthouse? Is that it?
yes,
Lighthouse.
number 1832.
So this is on Lighthouse Road, existing motel cottages or restaurant. They came in to legalize like a refreshment bar inside the building. Corjay's is down here to give you some sense of where it's right next to Corjay's.
Okay.
But they've got a whole bunch of issues on this property that need to be addressed. So we're gonna deem it incomplete until we figure out what other items we need to accomplish here. So it's incomplete.
Okay.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. 20 Hampton Cove Estates.
Yeah, this was the conversion, a motel conversion to the 8 apartments.
That we've
We
looked at
actually went through the whole public
17 times.
17 times. We went through everything, had the public hearing, and then it was determined that they would in fact have to upgrade their septic system. So we redeemed the application incomplete. They've given me a septic system plan now, so all we're gonna do is deem this application complete. I'm gonna then refer it back to the engineer one more time, and then we'll put it on for approval. So we're just deeming it complete again.
Incomplete.
No, complete.
Complete. Public hearing?
No, we already had one on this.
We had.
Yep.
You wanna do 30 days anyways?
Sure, we'll do 30 days.
Okay, so deeming this complete with a 30-day written comment period by Dennis, motion, second by George, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. I think we are done.
Yep, that's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Gloria and second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. We are adjourned. Please turn off your mics.